7 hours, holy shit. Okay, Rudo awakened in the boardroom, having spent the entire time looking at documents prior. He had a terrible dream. Why did I have that dream after all this time? The thought occurred to Rudo, but the answer came just as quickly. Sarah. Truly abhorrent. Those memories from childhood that he didn't want to remember. This is absolutely the worst. He recalled the deep resentment he had harbored towards his father, and the feelings of pity and compassion he had for his mother. With no one to receive those feelings, they continued to plague him endlessly. All this stemmed from 12 years ago. Rune was a truly violent girl since her youth. Not once would she take to heart everything said to her. Anything said to her, rather. She would have a way of just getting on anyone's nerves. No matter how hard people tried to understand her, they just couldn't find any reason. And Rune continued to be the source of grief. She would generate hostility and strife with others, and in the meantime, slip away into gaps as she laughed her head off. Maybe that's why she was someone who loved being violent. She was so intent on rebelling against something. It was like she was missing something important inside of her. She was that kind of girl. That day, her left eye was swollen red, perhaps having been stung by an insect. Concerned for Rune, our mother forced her frail, weak body as she tried to bring Rune to a hospital on the outskirts of town. Mom's waiting for you, Rune. No. Look, I'll just give you my dessert tonight, okay? Just listen to what she has to say for today. I don't want it. Go away. Doesn't your eye hurt, Rune? If you don't get a doctor to look at it, you might never get to see with that eye anymore. If you don't want that to happen, do you? I don't care. This eye can go die. Oh, come on. Don't say something so silly. Rune, are you ready to go? Come on. Mom even pushed herself today and got out of bed for this. Whatever. Mom can go die. The hospital can go die. Dad can go die too. Rudo, you go die. Everyone should just die. Don't say something so sad. Well, the truth is, I didn't particularly find what she said sad. Go die. I couldn't keep track of how many times she said that to me. Rune seems to have figured that, with her limited vocabulary, saying that would inflict the greatest emotional harm. Rune, I don't really mind you telling me that, but please don't tell Mom that. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Yet another meaningless endeavor. She was the little devil who would do the complete opposite of what you wanted her to do. On the other hand, if you tell her the exact opposite of what you want done, then she'd do it without question. Maybe she just took pleasure in causing people distress. A conversation with Rune really amounted to nothing more than a one-way assault on you. Just surviving my family reunion? Oh boy. Oh, Rune, you haven't changed yet? Sorry, Mom. She just wouldn't listen to me. How is you? I am okay. Having a time with this visual novel. I forgot how dark the dark parts got. I haven't played this myself before, but I did watch like a playthrough of it many years ago, so I forgot most everything, so it's alright. Sorry for making you deal with her. Come on, Rune. Let's have the doctor take a look at your eye now. No. I won't take no for an answer. We have to have that looked at right away. I found you a really good doctor. I'm sure he'll make it all better, just like that. No. Rune knew there was no winning an argument with her mother, so I don't want to go. She would just whine. That is the greatest form of resistance a child possesses. Wah. When she started screaming, she would continue until her vocal cords were worn out. Ugh. Rune, please stop crying, okay? Once we finished at the doctor's, I'll get you some ice cream from the Central Plaza. I don't wanna go. She would do anything as she was told, so we had to force her to come along with us. 30 minutes after, Rune finally stopped screaming. While she was getting checked up at the medical facility, Rune kept trying to bite or lunge at the doctor in charge of her. The doctor silently continued the checkup, and I didn't mean to click again. But it was written all over his face that he was already at his wit's end. If this hadn't been a hospital under her family, he probably would have told us to never come back again. On the way back, we stopped by the central square for a breather. Goodness, whatever am I gonna do with Rune? I'll try harder to deal with her. I'm sure if I'm just a little more patient with her, I can talk with her and she'll understand. I could stand to learn a thing or two from your patience with her. I swear, if you weren't here for me, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm sure Rune doesn't mean bad. I had to believe that, otherwise I couldn't possibly continue. Maybe when she grows a little older, then I'm sure. Continue considering her as my little sister. I'm sure this is just a phase. It's just for a while, it won't last. Once Rune grows a little older, even she will. We'll be fine. I'll be fine. So don't worry about a thing, Mom. Rune came back with a broken stick. Who knows where she found that? Hey, don't play with that, it's dangerous. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Dangerous, dangerous. She continued to run around, screaming, as she kicked up dirt with a stick, then dashed off to who knows where. Urk. Goodness gracious. We need to get her back here. Who knows what sort of trouble she may cause? I'll go and get her. Just wait here and rest, Mom. No, I'll go with you. If she causes problems outside, I need to scold her properly. If only that could have prevented what came next. Oh dear. I'm not putting that much. Just moments later. It took us a moment to even realize that the blood-curdling sound we heard was a scream. What was that? I ran toward the source, and I see a boy convulsing on the ground while being straddled by someone. That someone was Rune. She continued to stab a stick from earlier into the boy's face over and over while laughing hysterically, as if she completely lost it. What? The whole area was just stained red. With how unreal, how unbelievable the scene was, my mind was just completely zoned out. I thought to myself, is this what I thought what it would look like if I splashed a whole bucket of red paint here? Hey, answer me. The boy wasn't even trying to dodge the stick that kept coming to bear down upon him. I was joking about the Higurashi stare game. Yeah. Here we are, anyways. The boy wasn't even trying to dodge the stick that kept coming to bear down upon him. He was clearly unconscious. Rune! Die! Just die already, you stupid! Rune's voice, already hoarse and raspy, kept screaming at the child to die. It no longer sounded like a child's. Die! 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 Nor did it even sound remotely human. Yeah, ha 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 ha. The next moment, my body just lunged forward unconsciously. When I came to, my clothes were drenched and dyed with various shades of crimson blood. I'm fairly sure I managed to pull Rune away from the boy, but I don't have any clear memory of doing so. The body was immediately brought to Zivits Medica General Hospital. Patient name, Marcus Girkfields, age 8. The doctors performed the appropriate surgical measures, thankfully managing to save the boy's life. Oh, I think it means lurched. Lurched makes sense. I was thinking lunged, I don't know why. However, they weren't able to save his left eye because of the extreme lacerations inflicted. The stick had pierced through his eyeball and created a large fissure on in the sphenoid bone of his skull. Wow. This caused a huge motor imbalance in his body. Marcus would have to suffer chronic migraines for the remainder of his life. Oof. The reason for why Rune attacked him was discovered later. According to her, he made fun of me because of my eye patch. This incident occurred when Rune was 6 years of age. The doctors remarked that the entire incident was quite bizarre. How resilient the child's eyeball was, its position, size, the durability and sharpness of the stick Rune used. All the factors had to have been just perfect for this whole incident to have happened. Apparently, it was practically impossible for a girl 6 years of age to have inflicted such serious wounds on a boy 2 years older. There must have been some element of surprise for her to have been able to stab at such a small vital point. One of the doctors say the incident was truly bad luck. Or so he said. But it's wrong. There's no way that was just sheer bad luck. This wasn't just some incident where Rune simply lashed out due to emotion. Somewhere deep inside her, she must have had clear intentions to harm and destroy from the very beginning. This little incident was just an excuse to exercise that malicious intent. After the incident, Rune received the absolute worst scolding of her life. She apologized to every single person involved, bawling all the while. The peacekeepers, police in other words, gave a direct order to place her under indefinite house arrest. For some time, Rune simply stopped talking altogether. Of course, the responsibility of dealing with the aftermath fell solely on my mother's and father's shoulders. The Zvites did everything in their power to make things right for the Brookfields family. We had Zvites Medica provide the latest of medical technologies. The extravagant costs of treatment were all paid for the Zvites. Marcus Brookfield's education was fully paid for. Even his parents, who were experiencing troubles with work, were promised a livelihood as well. It all added up to be a very generous offer to the Brooksfield family. At first, the Brooksfield turned it down. However, as time went by, the family began to quarrel amongst themselves, arguing that it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. At the end, Marcus's parents divorced. He and his mother left the city soon after. A day, a week, a month, a year, time had passed. The Zvites conglomerate continued to grow in power. Although deep, the scar left in Zvites' family slowly began to heal. With the passage of time, Rune slowly began to learn how to interact with other people. She began to speak more politely. It was as if the violent menace that had her... that was her, had completely been overridden, instead turning into a proper lady. She was much more considerate of other people, disturbingly so. In reaction to her indescribable behavior, I harbored doubts. Did Rune truly learn anything from the incident? While I was initially doubtful, the skepticism eventually faded away. More time passed since the Brooksfield incident, another 5 years. Mom, where's Dad? He should be home soon. You should get ready too, Rudo. It's been a while since we've gone out to eat dinner as a family. That day, my mother's voice had a distinctly cheerful tone to it. Get ready. We're just going to Yields, right? I don't think I need to dress that nice, do I? No, can do. We're going out in public, so you need to dress properly. Rune, are you all dressed yet? Yes, Mother. My dearest brother, you still haven't changed? Yeah, Mom and I were talking about it just now. Oh, brother. Well then, shall I help you? Help me with what exactly? Why, with a change of clothes, of course. Don't be silly. It's fine, Rudo. Just let Rune help you out, why don't you? Come on, brother, from the top. Don't joke around, I'll head back to my room. I'm going to change. That's coming home soon, right? Well, if it ain't my 2 favorite runs, Daddy's home, kids. Welcome home, Dad. Hello, Father. Welcome home. Why, hello to you too, my wonderful son and daughter. Wait, huh? What's with that outfit, Rune? Nay. It's a dress for going out. Mom said it's because we're going out to eat. Are you crazy? Jeez, who needs to dress up all fancy like that? We're eating at a tavern, you know. I was telling them the exact same thing. Sid, where's your necktie? Ulp. Come on. Work's already over. Why can't I take it off? You do realize you're still the president of the Zevites Enterprise, right? If you dress that way, none of your business partners are gonna take you seriously. Come on now, put your necktie back on. We're about to leave. We won't get back early if we don't. My mother continued to yell at my father as she hurried him on, storming up the stairs to the second floor. I finally come home early for once, and now your mom's giving me the third degree. Maybe she's mad because you don't come home like this. We've got an important announcement to make. To him? Goodness gracious, mother, father, you both look overjoyed. Oh, daughter of mine, starting next week you'll become a prisoner of society. I'm gonna be real with y'all, Zavit's family. I do not say the discrepancy or formality with your clothes. Yeah. A prisoner of society? You betcha. Now you're gonna have to play by the... Youch! Okay, the dad definitely looks like Kaido. Yep. Just be quiet for a moment. Yowie, 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 stop squeezing my cheekies. Rune, we've formally enrolled you into an academy. You'll be going to school starting next week. Really? That's awesome. Congrats, Rune. You mean it? Oh, we're serious. Hella serious. Oh, no one ever mentioned the word hella. So next week, I will be going to an academy with other kids. You made a really good impression on them in last week's orientation, they said. Even the principal said they'd love to have you on board. I'm so happy. I can't believe it. I'm going to the academy? I must be dreaming. The word hella? You're in California. What are you questioning hella for? I'm happy for you, Rune. I hope you can make a lot of friends. Yo, if it ain't Sid. Hurts. If you were here, you could have at least given me a heads up, you son of a gun. I like that he has not aged a day, and his clothes has not changed. Did he just say hello? Yes. And now he just said son of a gun, so... Took the words right out of my mouth. Just what were you doing here, just stuffing your face full? You come here to get smashed. Hurts. Don't make Sid drink too much. He can't even take a little bit of alcohol, you know? Oh, come on, Ellen. Don't be such a hard ass. You almost never get a meet these days. Oh, and you two are? Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Hertzvan. If I remember right, it's Rudo and... Rune, I don't believe my eyes, Sid. I can't take my eyes off you two for just a moment. And now you've grown up this big? Rudo, come here for a second. Yes? Boy, you sure got real tall, eh? At this rate, you might end up growing past your dad. Yo, Hertz, you pulled me out over here and now you're gonna keep me waiting? You're doing a chugging contest, right? Hey, looks like the Vice President and Hertzvan are gonna do a speed drinking contest. Huh? The President of the Vites? He's way too damn rich to be gracing the likes of this here tavern. Then who the hell is that? What? Don't be stupid. Just because I got money doesn't mean I can't go to a tavern. I ain't one bit more special than anyone else here. I came here to take down the king of the tavern. Hey Hertz, let's do this. Chug, chug. I swear. We finally have dinner out as a family. Don't worry, I'll send him back to you in a jiffy. I haven't seen this guy in so long either. Let me just do a little catching up with him, okay? Jeez, fine. Sid, if you're doing this, then you better beat him. Take that damned Hertz down. Mother? You got it. You can make the deal giving the judges some incentives, too. Hey everyone, if Sid wins, then everyone at the tavern gets a free drink as a present from us. For real? Hey guys, you better keep Hertz from chugging. Hey, no cheating. I thought this match was fair and square. Even with all this going on, you seem to be enjoying yourself, Mother. Phew. Is something wrong, Mom? No, it's just... this time is really amazing, isn't it? It heals wounds, no matter how deep the wounds are. Even when you've given up, it gives you the strength to keep going once more. There was time that I thought we'd never be able to speak with Hertz again. I apologize for what I've done, Mother. No matter how young I was, I brought shame and disgrace to our family. I'm truly sorry for what I've done. It's fine, Rune. It's all in the past. Rune, as long as you two grow up well and happy, that's all I need. Mother. I hope you two can work side by side, leading the Zavitz company together. And for that to happen, you need to study as hard as you can. Yes, absolutely. What? Rune's gonna go to an academy? Academy's sigmattery. Even if people don't go to school, they turn out perfectly fine. I hear you, Hertz. You hear that, Rune? Even if you don't go to school, you're a perfectly upstanding citizen, just like me. You're just saying that because the alcohol's getting to your head. Yowie, stop squeezing me cheekies. I was just joking. Listen, Rune. It's true that your father, Albus, didn't go to school and still managed to become greatly successful. But don't forget, there are exemptions to the rule. He may get fired up like that, especially when you two are around. But Sid's been sponsoring a compulsory education company for the entire outer pole through the government for years now. Compulsory education? It's a system that makes sure children have the right to education. A society where kids have that right? You two need to keep this in mind. The people of the outer pole can't use craft. So you two need to study as hard as you can, or you won't have anything to help you survive. Aw, don't be silly, Lune. What? A person's worth ain't determined by how much crap they shove in their heads from school. It's the sense of how they can change themselves with the knowledge they learned through experience. Hell yeah, Hertz. You sure know the right things to say for a drunkard. Ah, for heaven's sake, stop ruining the whole point of my story. Look, Rune, we're going to school next week, okay? Understood, Mother dearest. Ha ha ha. Ow. Sid. Oh, you brought Rudo with you? Hello, Mr. Albus. Sorry, looks like I left a few papers and stuff. I see. Sorry, Rudo. I need to speak with your father in private if you don't mind. Huh? Okay. I guess you can go do something to kill time. You have a bit of work I still need to do. Gotcha. Alright, I'll see you later. Okay, what's going on? You're looking pretty grim. And you're not looking too good yourself. Did you have that much to drink yourself? To dope up? I sure did. I ended up having a drinking contest with Hertz. Remember I told you that we'd be enrolling Rune in a school again? I figure it's already been a while since that incident, so it should be alright now. Have you already told Rune this? Yeah, we celebrated it yesterday. She felt overjoyed. You should have been there, Albus. Is that so? Hey, what's wrong? You've been making a real scary face the whole time. It's quite the issue, Sid. Here's the cross-sections of Rune's brain from her MRI the other day. This is the cross-section where she gets mad. Here's when she's happy. This is when she's sad, and this... Huh? Did the scans get mucked up or something? No. Those are perfectly accurate. Even I wasn't sure at first. Well, that's exactly what was captured, without a doubt. The scan shows Rune's entire range of human emotions. Then that makes even less sense. There's no change here at all. These are all just copies of the same thing. Sid, I need you to calm down and listen to me. Rune has no emotions. Huh? Unlike you, or me, or Rudo, her brain lacks the portion that controls emotion. I think it's a kind of congenital disorder. No. That's just not possible. What? I mean, I've seen her laugh. She was even sulking when Rudo was ignoring her just the other day. Just what do you call all that? I can't say. But look at the results of this MRI. Don't mess with me. If it weren't you, Albus, I'd be punching the living daylights out of you. I'm being perfectly serious, Sid. This is no laughing matter. So my daughter isn't human? Is that what you're saying? What? You are, aren't you? A person who just has no heart, no emotion. Who are you kidding? We're human precisely because we have hearts. Look, I'm not trying to pull your leg here, okay? And I'm telling you this has to be an error. The MRI is still pretty new technology. How can I be sure how accurate that thing is? And this thing is coming from the mouth of the person who invented it? Oh, didn't realize it was Albus. You of all people should just know how accurate the MRI is. Do you have any idea how many advances in the medical science were made were made possible just these last few years because of your creation? Rune not having any emotions. No, that can't be true. And the whole incident where she was a kid, there must have been some kind of mistake. Is that all true? Rudo. A few months after that, Rune was able to mingle with her peers in the academy without incident. Despite all that Albus had said, nothing out of the ordinary took place, and we continued to live peaceful lives. We were still worried about the Brookfields incident, but most seemed to have already forgotten about it. Convenient. Ever since the incident, Rune had always been homeschooled, so there were many who didn't even know the Zvites had a daughter. With Rune's sociable behavior, she quickly became a popular student in the academy. She made many friends there. Perhaps because her home tutor had been very strict, it seemed as if her classes were a little too easy. I gasped when Rudo spoke up. Oh dear. Our anxieties that were born from Albus's conjecture also ceased. Our peaceful life went on as usual. Until one day, I came across Rune on her way back home from the academy, heading down into an area of the park where most people normally don't enter. Just wondering what could she be doing going that far in, I wondered. Curiosity getting the better of me, I snuck inside. As I got closer, Mirag. What? I was able to hear the dying cries of an animal. What animal exactly? I wasn't sure. That's how wretched its last screams were. No, it can't be. I ran towards where Rune was. What the? Oh no, it looks like I've been found. Since when have you been following me? Could you be stalking me, perhaps? You. Why you? What are you doing? Well, I suppose whether I've been found out or otherwise doesn't really matter. But you know, when people know, it's such a pain. Right, Rudo? The tone of her voice suddenly changed. Answer me, Rune, what have you... No, it didn't change. What? It occurred to me how cunning she was, and that she didn't change one bit. What are you? Who knows? But seeing as I have no emotions, then I suppose I'm not human at least. She knew? That there was only no between Father Albus and myself. How did she find out? When did she find out? Here's your reward for finding my secret out. And that's explanation for my dear oblivious big brother who cannot seem to grasp the situation. The only time I feel emotion is when something which had been so full of life meets its demise. When I take away the happiness of anyone, when a person dies, when years of precious memories and love all crumble away in a single moment. Do you understand? I take pleasure in observing the loss of others. That day, seeing the hideous twitching and spasming, the unsightly way something clings to life desperately. The very moment something turns into a mere lump of flesh. It truly resonates with the emptiness inside me. Psychopath Rune out here, indeed. The moment I saw Rune's fake smile, I thought to myself with conviction, living beings are truly well-oiled machines. I simply could not let this thing grow into maturity. That night, I spoke to our parents about Rune. They did not take me seriously. I needed some concrete evidence to shatter the illusion that she built up those past 6 years. Please, just get along with her, Rudo. You're her older brother, so look after her. So my mother said. Every single day didn't even feel like living. My doubts weren't wrong in the slightest. If I took my eyes off of her just a moment, who knows what she could do? Rune's grown in wisdom. I doubted there would be any more sudden outbursts like with the Brooksfield incident. I forget. Why have we been in this flashback? A great question. I don't remember too much either. Whatever she was going to do next, it was going to be a planned and calculated incident. I lived from day to day, constantly preparing myself for the worst. For a while, I started to probe into her actions and routine. I even asked the local peacekeepers. When I asked about any particular incidents, I couldn't believe what they told me. Dead animals? That ain't news anymore. These past few years, there have been numerous reports of corpses of small animals spotted, murdered. Because they all involved some kind of bladed implement used to mutilate the bodies, it's clearly a human who was responsible. These disgusting acts continued to increase. I was told to report anything suspicious as soon as possible. I was at a loss of what to do. Do I turn Rune in? Right now? Without a single shred of proof? Merely claiming to have seen her doing it as paper-thin evidence. No, more than that. When I imagined my mother's face, I just couldn't bring myself to report Rune. I had to stop Rune. I can't allow my mother to experience any more pain or suffering. From that day onward, I had to do something about it, myself. Whenever possible, I always kept Rune on a tight leash. I noticed you've been paying extra special attention to me recently, brother. I'm so happy. As each and every day went by, hearing Rune's emotionless words, I was more and more convinced. Rune had convinced to observe everyone around her, creating a facade in order to gain her freedom and her trust. And that... But you know, I'm getting tired of this. She truly was planning something. Several weeks later, my mother had collapsed. The tea my mother drank was discovered to have contained a poisonous mana-infused substance called Process 1. However, luckily due to her weak body, her body had rejected the mana before her body had taken in a lethal amount. She managed to escape with her life, at least for the time being. Upon being informed, the peacekeepers conducted a formal investigation. At the same time, Rune disappeared from the residence. A few days later, it came to light that Rune had snuck into Suvite's Medica's drug stockroom. She had stolen enough Process 1 to kill over 10 people, damn. Several days after that, several top executives of companies beyond the outer pole with whom Suvite was to form partnerships were found dead, poisoned by Process 1. The negotiations between the outer pole and the second sector were immediately cut. The plans for expansion that my father had been working on for 4 years were all scrapped. It was a huge blow to the Suvite's companies. The next day, a cargo ship docked at the port nearby and unloaded Rune's corpse. An autopsy was conducted. The results showed a huge amount of colored mana inside her body. Her cause of death was acute mana shock. Anyone from the outer pole who goes beyond its borders will die of mana shock. Even a child would know this. Hence, it was hard to believe that Rune could have tried to leave of her own intent. Eventually, it was declared a cold case. That's just what was Rune trying to accomplish? Was her death an accident? It hadn't dawned on me at the time, but I would eventually realize, or something like that. My mother's spirit finally broke and she refused to eat anything. Several months later, she passed away due to wasting away. My father could no longer speak right and confined himself to his laboratory. The Suvite's family was ruined. No, it had long been ruined. The very moment that Rune was born into this world. Yes, those 6 years of peace since the Krogsvikes incident were all nothing but a sham. Rune's death was not an accident. It was just like destroying a carefully stacked house of cards in an instant for her. Her suicide was a calculated move in order to deal with the greatest possible blow to the Suvites. There must have been no other reason. In order to destroy, she had to destroy herself. That was Rune in a nutshell. Alright. Excuse me, would you happen to be Albus? Hmm. And you are? We're Sarah's, friends. Friends? Unfortunately, I have to inform you that Sarah doesn't have any friends. Perhaps you've misunderstood? Again with this. Beating around the bush isn't going to help. Let's just get straight to the point. We're travelers. When we arrived at the city, we were completely clueless. Sarah was extremely hospitable and accommodating to us. We're incredibly grateful to her. However, it seems her goodwill worked against her, as I hear she's now being punished for her actions. The leader of the Shivites organization that you work for is apparently going to take measures against her. I had heard about this from Rudo, so it was you that... Please, could we speak with you, even for just a moment? Sorry, but we have our own issues to deal with as well. Even if you come to me with all that in mind, this isn't a matter that can be taken lightly. About Sarah. When we first met, she had introduced herself to us as Rune. What? What did you just say? Alba's brusque expression changed in an instant. It seems that anyone deeply connected will have quite the reaction to the name Rune, and we just need one more push. I promise you, if this matter is not of your concern, then we will not press you any further. I understand that this is greatly presumptuous of me, but I simply want to confirm a few things. I seek to have a discussion with you. Shall we take this elsewhere then? Yes. Shit. Our lodging is just on the outskirts of town. Is that alright with you? Just the two of you? Yes, what of it? Don't you feel that bringing a man back to your lodging at this time of night is rather careless? Careless? What makes you say that? And what does being a man or woman have to do with anything? I suppose this can be chalked up to cultural differences. Regardless, the answer is no. If you want to talk, then let's do so in the park in the central square. At this time of day, there are still people around, and it should be much quieter than this place. Please, go ahead. I'll leave as soon as I settle the bill. Well, just what was with his attitude? Selphine? What's the matter? Brusque is an adjective meaning abrupt or offhand in speech or manner. I mean, I kinda figured. New word for me too. Fair enough. What's the matter? I have a feeling that, in this place's culture, men are still predominantly in a position of power. Huh? That can't be. Considering how much their civilization has progressed, this is rather hard to believe. You never know. Without any craft, the normal girl can't really beat a bad guy in a fight. Ruskin Hyde was like this before too, right? A male-centered society where brute force means everything. Just how long ago was that? Still, that does explain his initial demeanor. I can't quite tell whether the city is progressing or regressing. Is something on your mind? No, it's just... I just thought that it's kinda scary if that was the case. Violent crimes through seldom still do occur in Ruxenhyde, but ones born from sexism are just about non-existent. That is true, but when things are as simple as this have to be explained to be understood, do you think we could ever understand each other? You do have a point. However, if you become fearful from just that, the name of Ruxenhyde will be tarnished. As long as there are no major obstacles between us, I'm sure we can talk and reach a mutual understanding. Yeah, I know. Sorry to keep you waiting. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. By the way, who advised you to talk to me about all this? Oh. It gave Albus a short rundown of the events till this point. I see. So it's hurts, eh? Is he doing well? Doing well. I suppose he is. If he weren't, he couldn't possibly be able to down that much alcohol. I see. That's just like him. If I may presume, does this mean that it's been a while since you've last met? Yes, it has been quite a while. Let's just say, things happened. In any case, why don't we introduce ourselves properly? My name is Albus Folster. I serve as the CTO of Zavite's Enterprise. I'm Ratona, a traveler. I'm Selphine, Ratona's fellow travel companion. It's a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance. Excuse me, I have an unrelated question that I was hoping you could answer. It's been bothering me since yesterday. You mentioned some sort of title, but I don't quite understand what it means. Rito also mentioned something similar. CTO is short for Chief Technological Officer. You can think of it as the person in charge of the technical side of things. I see. I think. Rito is the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. In other words, he's the topmost position of Zavite's Enterprise. Whoa. That's a lot easier to understand. It seems that these titles serve as positions when introducing oneself. Chief Executive. So basically like the president? Well, technically not quite, but well, the nuance is the same. I see. I take it your home country doesn't have entities such as corporations? Wait a minute. Do forgive me for commenting, but if I'm not mistaken, you appear much older than Rudo Schweitz. So, how is it that he's allowed to wield absolute authority? You sure are straight to the point, aren't you? Well, you have a point. Rudo is a mere 22 years of age after all. I am older than him. Damn, okay. 22? Just 3 years apart from me? He's just 3 years away from Ratona. With that expression of his? Amazing, isn't he? He's so much younger than I am, but he's been able to keep a company this huge running so well. So do you mean he's the leader of a really huge organization? That he is. In terms of sheer scale, Javite's is the largest on the entire outer pole. Well then, is there some kind of ceremony for them to become leaders? Ceremony? I was 22 once. Same. Yes, a ceremony. Well, it's not quite a ceremony. Unless you're referring to promotion parties. Party? It's a celebratory event. Well, during our travels, we've heard of this country whenever they choose their next ruler. Using a ceremony called the Path Down, they inherit all their predecessors' memories, experience, and knowledge. It's been 84 years. Stop. It's a kind of culture wherein the descendants of the next generation will be able to gain the qualifications they need to be the next ruler. A path down that continues across many generations bolsters the country's strength and also shows a strong unity with the citizens. Is that true? For someone so young to inherit such a large kingdom, well, company in this case, he has to be qualified to be. So you would need a ceremony like that, right? By inheriting knowledge, I can take that to mean that they were also educated and groomed by their predecessors? Educated, well, that is part of it, but it's not something as indirect. The experiences and knowledge are directly transmitted. Albus tilts his head. Directly transmitted? Not via speaking, writing, or teaching, eh? There's no such thing then. Us folk in the outer pole have to use words, speech, more concrete forms of communication to convey what we're thinking and feeling. There's no other way for us to do so. It's impossible for us to directly transmit knowledge, as you say. I see. We magic, bitch. Yes. So I suppose that in that outer pole's culture, there is no such ceremony to install leaders, as you mentioned. Install? I guess that's a fair way to put that. Why do you ask? Well, that's because we're wandering around different countries, traveling to learn and study more about the world, you see. By experiencing all sorts of cultures, we'd like to expand our knowledge on the vastness of this world. That sounds like quite the undertaking, especially concerning the world's state of affairs lately. I envy you both. If I weren't from the outer pole, I would have loved to travel the world as well. Oh, but I digress. Let's get back to the heart of the matter. For confirmation's sake, you said that Sarah introduced herself as Rune, correct? Yes. You knew about Rune, didn't you, Albus? Did I know her? We were like family up until she died. Rune and Rudo's father, Sid, we had been very good friends. Sid and I built Zavite's Enterprise from the ground up. Impressive. He's quite the influential individual. Her knows all sorts of people. Had been? Does that mean Sid is... He passed away about 3 years ago. But Ruto is 22 years old. He must have been still awfully young. There's quite a long story behind that. Well then, could you please tell us about the relationship between Rune and Sarah? Are they one and the same? Yes. We're completely in the dark about what's going on. Please, tell us more about Sarah. Just who is she? Is that her real name? Her real name, eh? That name was the term I used in order to pertain to Sarah. As for whether it qualifies as a name, well, I suppose that depends on your definition of what a name is. Judging by how you're referring to her, should we take that to mean that she really is being treated as a slave? Excuse me? We're merely travelers and know nothing of the customs of this land. However, from where we come from, treating people like belongings is something that should not ever be tolerated. So right now, we cannot even hide our astonishment regarding the state of affairs. I see. You two were born and raised in a very good country. But just to clear up any misunderstandings, I have to inform you that she is no slave. It's just a few decades ago that slavery was outlawed in this country. Although there are still some wretched folks out there who still practice it in absolute secrecy. Then that makes even less sense. Why do you refer to her as if she were an object? Precisely because she is an object. You asked me about her name earlier, yes? The word Sarah is just a term we use to refer to her. It means Synapse Architectural Review and Assessment. We took the first letters of each word from the title and the report written up when she was first constructed. That's why it technically isn't a name, it's an acronym. What? Constructed? That doesn't make sense. Sarah was made? Sarah is a product of the Zavite's Enterprise last president Sid Zavite's, created to handle mana-related tasks in the Outer Pole. Sarah is a machine. You must be joking. A machine? Although our company Zavite's Enterprise is well known for the mounted energy conversion and energy supply services. I saw this coming from a mile away, but is well known for mana to energy conversion and energy supply services. Okay. Wait just a minute here. A machine? By machine, do you mean something like a clock? I was joking about the Hatsune Miku thing game. Well, it's certainly on a completely different dimension of complexity, but yes, in a sense, I suppose I do. I did remember more or less about, like, her not being, like, her being, like, a robot of sorts, so that's why I said, like, it's not exactly slavery. Like, I guess you still can interpret it as such, because she is at least somewhat sentient, but, like, you know. Anyways. Well, it's certainly on a completely different dimension of complexity, but yes, in a sense, I suppose I do. With all due respect, I just cannot believe that. Well, I suppose most people wouldn't. Machines do not possess sentience, do they? Whoever was with us yesterday was clearly sentient and had a strong sense of self. She was aware of her surroundings, knew right from wrong, exercised judgment, and was able to display compassion for others. Intriguing. Would you happen to be acquainted with philosophy? Not really. I wouldn't say that I'm on that level of familiarity. When asked on the difference between what is and isn't human, being able to go straight to questions about perception ability is proof that one has been thoroughly educated in these matters. Your homeland truly must be rich in a variety of aspects. I'm envious. Wait just a moment. Do mana automatons dream of magical sheep? Stop. In regards to your assertion that Sarah is a machine, all I can see is an excuse for you to treat her as you do now. In regards to your assertion that Sarah is a machine, all I can see is an excuse for you to treat her as you do now. I'm answering your questions, fully aware that you most likely would be in disbelief. You are free to believe me or otherwise. In fact, if I were in your place, I probably wouldn't believe it myself. Realistically speaking, there's no way to verify your... Retona, let him speak, okay? In any case, we're both at a dead end anyway. And this way, we can see if he's telling the truth or not, okay? So she means to use that then. Very well. The younger-looking girl seems to hold the power in the relationship. Quite intriguing. Regardless, we still find it difficult to swallow your claim that Rune is indeed a machine. Perfectly sensible. To be honest, much of it remains a mystery to myself as well. Albus? Yes. If you don't mind, we'd like to show you a kind of cravat, if you so please. Monocraft, you say? Are you two monocrafters? Yes, we are monocrafters who come from a country far away from here. You said you were travelers, but to think you were from the Interpol. Are you sure about this? Consider where you are right now. What about Monoshock? According to Ruda, we had 3 or 4 days remaining. We are shouldering that risk by voluntarily being here. I see. I think I now have to have a grasp on how gravely you two view this matter. Seeing as you're willing to divulge all of this, should I take it to mean that you're deadly serious about all of this? It wouldn't be fair to keep one-sidedly asking you for information after all. I do appreciate the sentiment, but unfortunately I don't have the time. I'll essentially be trapped up in the office from tomorrow until next week or so, with little to no free time to spare. I still will have some matters to attend to after this as well. That won't be an issue. This craft will be over in the blink of an eye. Just as she says, this craft won't take much of your time. I'm not quite sure I follow. What should I do, exactly? For the meantime, all we need is your trust in us. All we wish to do is exchange information with you. If there's any information or knowledge you'd like us to impart, then we can share it directly with you at the same time. Sharing information directly? Before we go any further, this means you won't have any reservations with talking with us, right? Yes. Though I do have my limits. This just is... It's just that I don't have the time to explain everything in full. It's alright, you'll understand in a few minutes. Will you trust us? Okay, I trust you. Thank you very much. Alright, Retona, could I have a little mana? Your wish is my command. Good grief, this sure is quite the turn of events. I can't believe I get to see Monocraft performed in the flesh. I'm a little anxious. I'll explain further on the other side. Now. Other side? Selfie? Selfie had already begun converting mana. She's so concentrated on the test that she doesn't even notice my speaking anymore. There's no naturally present mana, so my internal mana isn't stabilizing. I didn't expect conversation to need this much concentration and stamina. Just how did Retona make her sword so quickly? Alright, this should do it. Selphine opens her eyes wide. It seems she's finished preparations. Is it just me, or are her eyes more radiant than before? The sheen of her hair, too. Even her skin seems to be radiating a weak light. Shall we begin? Yes. Excuse me for a moment. Selphine pressed her right index and middle fingers together and lightly touched Alba's temples. Are you alright? It seems to be taking longer than usual, perhaps because we're in the outer pole. Yeah, it's been a while, so I'm a little nervous. No need to tense up so much. This craft isn't going to be of any harm. Your body will warm up a little, as if you're doing some light jogging. I see. Now, if you please. Bless. Understood. Whoa. What a strange sensation. I can feel my physical body, but my consciousness is sinking, like it's getting sucked into a deep darkness. Okay, I've established a link with you, Albus. Next is Retona. Retona as well. Selphine reserves as an intermediary, connecting the three of us. This allows us to share our consciousness. is that even? What we will now conduct is referred to as a mind dive. It's a type of calm craft where which is mainly used to establish links between the consciousness of one or more parties. How do you feel, Albus? This all feels very strange. The sounds around us are slowly fading away, and then my consciousness is becoming trapped inside. Inside, there's a girl, Selphie, whose existence is growing more and more pronounced. You're just about ready too, Ratona. Could you bless, please? Understood. Suddenly, now Ratona's joining my consciousness. All of this, truly, there's no words I can use to describe this. Let's begin. This place is... Lab 9? How did we get in this place? This place is called Media Storage. It's a space serving as a materialized form of your subconscious. The manifestation of my subconscious? The manifestation of my subconscious? Did my thoughts just flow out without my knowing it? We're currently in the realm of your subconscious. My subconscious. All the things you wish to ask us and anything, any information that you will allow us to know is conveyed to us purely as is. In that sense, you ought to be able to hear my own thoughts as well. Her mouth isn't moving, but I still can hear her voice. I'm sure it comes as quite a surprise to you, but I'm sure you will quickly get used to it. I see. How do I put it? It's as if I've wandered straight into a fairy tale. Normally, this craft, a mind dive, is supposed to last but a moment or two. A conversation that normally lasts a full hour will take a split second. Though sometimes circumstances can make it take longer. Most of the time, when there are multiple people like this, it does take quite a bit longer. This time, since there's 3 of us, and so that it's less alienating to Albus, I've structured it as more of a conversation between us. I'm grateful for that, I suppose? Should I? No, I'm the one who can't follow the conversation. I can tell you're pretty nervous about all of this, so I'll try to explain it a little better. As Ratona said earlier, media storage is a space manifested from your subconscious. In here, there's no distinction between truth and lies. The only thing here is the mana within your body and mind. It contains your pure, unadulterated memories, and the unconscious mind that allows you to convey them. Conveying my memories, both my conscious and subconscious? Humans do have some memories which they'd rather not let others know of. Your consciousness and unconscious self have the right to choose what to show to us and what not to. There are things you feel you must tell us, and things you feel that you mustn't. For these sealed-off memories, even someone like me can freely use a mind dive, cannot peek into those. Essentially, except for those things you choose to tell or show us, the rest will not be conveyed to us. I can't believe such amazing technology actually exists in this world. The mind dive is quite a peculiar craft. Only those who can use the Pathdown are able to utilize it. Basically, it's a craft only royalty can use. It's not something that needs to be shared, so I'm keeping these thoughts and memories closed off. Is that so? I don't fully understand. But that means we could take our time here and discuss whatever we wish to at our own pace. No, we don't need to go about it in such a roundabout manner. You should be able to communicate via senses as well. Once you open up the information we need to exchange, whatever you'd like to share with us should freely flow out. Huh? Nothing's happening. It looks like we need a little more time. I suppose this is what we're dealing with someone from the outer pole. The flow of eternal mana is a little stagnant. It'll take time for it to reach. Why don't you relax for a little until you get used to it? Sooner or later you will have to speak. Instead, our consciousness will just freely share information. Alright. So this is really quite a strange experience. It's like I could see straight into the two of you. Your personalities, your humanity, I can perceive directly. And we could say the same to you, Albus. This room represents who you are as a person. The space is clean and well organized, the lighting is just right, and the entire area is stable. It's a sign that your thoughts are coexisting amicably with ours. If the compatibility is off, then incongruities as one's personality would either reject a mind dive entirely, or the space of the media storage would be dark and warped. I see. I appreciate the compliments, but I'm not exactly the nicest person there is. The truth is, I've had some doubts about you two. That you may be industry spies. For all I know, you may have been sent by hives. We've known. Rather, we'd felt that from him some time back. But now, I see it so clearly now. Like the anxieties in my heart are being cleansed. The two of you truly simply want to talk with me. And more than that, the two of you truly are that worried about Sarah. Uh-huh. It's begun. When discussing the Zweig's siblings with Sarah, there's another vital person we must discuss. Sid Zweig. He is the founder of Zweig's Enterprise and the author of Rune and Rune. The Zweig family was never an affluent one. Born the eldest son of the family ever since he was a child, he was different from his peers. I've been with him since I was young, and we were practically brothers. Of all the people I've grown up with in the slums, he was the only one who I had remained friends with till the very end. Sid's father was Repsible, a worthless man, an alcoholic who had become violent with his own family, truly savage. He wouldn't lift a finger to do any honest work, instead using his shady connections for get-rich-quick schemes to smuggle large amounts of purified mana into the outer pole. When Sid was 9, that man said that he would leave to find work elsewhere and promptly disappeared from Cadia. Sid had to take care of his weak mother all by himself. At that time, the idea of using mana for energy hadn't existed in Cadia. Instead, we had to use coal or kerosene to make it through winter. The winter cold was so harsh that there were numerous casualties every year. It was where we lived, the slums, that was always hit the hardest. If only we had some kerosene. Until he had lost his mother, Sid had often repeated this phrase. He and I did our damnedest, working with everything we had to keep his mother in good health. But of course we were still only 9 years of age. Whatever we made never amounted to much. After 2 years of painful struggle, Sid's mother passed away when we were 11 years old. That year, something inside Sid changed. He had always been prejudiced against the world, cursing it every chance he got, but that changed completely. Perhaps he came to an epiphany. Unless he changes, the world will swallow him up whole. That if he goes on like this, his life will have amounted to nothing but him crawling in the dirt. He accepted the unjustness and brutality of the world. With his mother's passing, Sid was alone and free to do what he wanted. Whenever he had time, he would talk about mana. At the time, it was so completely beyond me. Sid's father, whom he so hated, was obsessed with mana. Although he hated it, he continued to pursue it, which wasn't something one would expect. Unlike his father, however, he wasn't interested in short-term get-rich-quick schemes. While he was continuing working in the coal mines, he would pilfer sediment that had trace amounts of colored mana in them, bringing them back as research material. Owie. Phew, the foreman's in a pretty bad mood today, too. I knew this was going to be some hard work, but I'll tell you, being a coal mine worker ain't something a human ought to do. Barely pays enough just to put food on the table, too. God, my joints are all screaming in pain. Still, we ought to consider ourselves lucky to even have work. Looks like this year's winter is going to be incredibly cold as well. Well, at least it's freaking hot while working. I'd rather be moving around or working than just sitting around in school all day. It's way more fulfilling. Who the heck would want to waste their childhood in a dump like that? Not me, that's for sure. You have a point there. Alright, Albus, let me show you something real cool. What? Is that? That's right, it's sediment. There's not a lot of it, but there's definitely a little bit of colored mana inside. Where did you even... Well, we were mining. The coal mine might actually be a mana mine. What have you done, Sid? Don't tell me. You're going to sell that. No way, that's dirty money. They'll find you and throw you in prison. No, don't be stupid. Like I could sell such a valuable sample. Sample? Actually, this isn't the first sample I found. The first one I found was smaller than a pea. But the deeper I dug, the sediment just kept getting bigger and bigger. You've been sneaking out sediment for that long? Look, listen to just what I have to say first, okay? I made a pretty interesting discovery. Come by my laboratory. Laboratory? You mean your house, right? Oh, come on, that's pretty important, okay? If I said my place, it wouldn't get you fired up. Struggling to understand your logic here. Look, just pay me a visit, alright? Besides, we could just head straight there, couldn't we? Oh, well, I suppose we could, but... Today's the day when my mom, you know... I thought I'd leave her a flower or two. I see. It's already been that long, huh? Anyway, it's just me and my laboratory. See you there. Fast forward to a few years later. We began to immerse ourselves in colored mana purification research. We conducted all sorts of absurd experiments. Sid loved high-risk experiments, a trait he may have inherited from his father. On one occasion, he suffered mana shock and ended up being unable to move his left arm. As I conducted to support Sid, we both spent our adolescent years in mana research. Every day, every single day of it. We toiled as if possessed by the gods of mana themselves. After countless failures, we finally succeeded. But finally, we were able to purify colored mana. This isn't self-praise or exaggeration, it was truly the discovery of the century. The news quickly spread throughout the entire outer pole. Then one day, we began to look for investors who were willing to commercialize the mana system. Why? Tell me, just what was that hard work for then? What exactly are we gonna do if we don't look for investors? This conversion efficiency with just this filter isn't good enough. If the sediment has low mana concentration, then that means there isn't gonna be enough energy. Just how much time do you think it takes to convert enough energy to match a candle that lasts burning for 2-3 hours? At this point, mining coals is still more efficient. Well, of course our research is just in its initial stages, but if we continue our line of research then... By the way, have you heard of electricity before? Electricity? Oh, are you talking about that one person in the third sector who's trying to control the energy from lightning? That's right. But from what I hear, that technology is still in infancy. And not only that, it's quite dangerous. According to the opinion of the Board of Science, it probably won't see any widespread use anytime soon. The opinion of those idiots over at the board ain't worth your salt. If mana didn't actually exist, then I sure as heck to be looking into electricity too. Besides, if we're talking danger here, mana's just as guilty. Heck. It might be that mana's way more dangerous than electricity. What would make you say that? My left arm's been acting up again lately. Does it still hurt? Nah, not exactly. It feels like it's, I don't know. It's weird, like it's been slowing eating away by something. What in the... Has it been that way since you were able to move it? No, just recently. I didn't say anything at first because it didn't really get in the way of work, but it's been hard to ignore lately. I wonder what's causing it. No clue, but one thing's for sure. There's still a whole lot of unknowns we've yet to discover about mana. As a result of further research, we succeeded in generating a stable, usable amount of mana. In the meantime, we managed to meet willing investors who were interested in our work despite our youth. We sure got lucky, I commented, but Sid said, no, we made this happen in response. He was the type who hated any fatalistic mindsets. A few years later, everything was going smoothly. Thanks to the investors, Vice Enterprise was established without a hitch. At the time of the founding, Sid married the girl from a neighboring town who had entered the company. Her name was Aline Crossrose. She had unnaturally beautiful emerald eyes and pearly white skin. Outspoken and imbued with a strong sense of justice. However, she had been born with a weak constitution, much like Sid's mother. Aline's wish was to benefit other people in the world. She was the type of person who could exchange the atmosphere just by being there. No matter how rebellious or contrarian someone is, they would immediately become docile and obedient when faced with her. One couldn't help but think of her as blah blah, regardless of logic or reason. She was simple, truly lovable human being. There wasn't anyone who wouldn't be inspired by her zeal. As a Jivite, Yeah, grew in power, so did the profits and efficiency, as it continued to devote itself to the greater good. It didn't reach its peak efficiency, but when winter came, it managed to cut casualties down to less than half. The company continued to gain influence. As it continued to grow in fame and fortune, Rune was born. Rune was truly a brilliant child. Having inherited both Elaine's kindness and his father's wisdom, Rune was truly a good person. We lived our days in happiness. At the time, we hadn't realized, somewhere unbeknownst to us, we had created a great and powerful enemy. Hey, Sid, Lean, have you heard about Hives? That's the company of that idiot who tried to control lightning, right? Of course I have. I have too, and none of it is any good. The filter they're using, that's the one that Sid designed. Shouldn't we do something about them? Who cares? Honestly, I don't even know what they're trying to do with those old relics of filters. But that clearly means just painting a target on your back. He must be bitter that you ruined his plans for electricity. Huh, that bastard can do whatever the hell he wants to. He failed to make electricity seed. He's got a grudge against us, and now he's sticking to his neck into the mana industry. And to top it all off, he uses the product that his rival designed to start his own company. I'm sure he has guts. He sure has guts, I'll give him that. This kind of audacity sure reminds me of a certain someone. Huh? Don't be stupid. I won't do anything like that. He's got no vision. Touché. But you have a point. What does he hope to accomplish by using those filters? That's a losing strategy when going up against us. Well, who knows? We're up against someone who's trying to use his enemy's ideas against him and live. You'd be surprised how tough a nut job like that is to take down. What's wrong, Lean? You seem pretty pale. I have a bad feeling about all of this. How come? It's just, everything's been going too smoothly for all of us. Nothing's got to happen sooner or later. Hey now, you're talking about karma? I ain't done a single awful thing to anyone. Whoops. Why do you think we need to pay back for all the happiness we've been experiencing so far? I suppose so. A few years later, Rune was born. With almost inexplicable timing, Hive experienced an explosion of growth. Despite being of no competition in terms of both experience with mana and underlying technologies, they managed to one-up us in terms of business acumen. Their expansion was absolutely unprecedented. No one was able to anticipate that Hives could gain enough power to complete with fights in such short years. Mana is likely to become a highly dangerous substance to us residents of the Outer Pole, as it happened to Sid when his left arm was affected. Make no mistake and you could lose your life. Sid knew that well. Because enough investors for the company were secured, Sid was able to prioritize development of medical treatments when Sveit's enterprise was first established. Elaine and spearheaded the charge, but having Sveit's assemble every skilled doctor around and founded Sveit's Medica. People had to undergo proper training to handle mana as part of their work in Sveit's. Sveit's dedicated its resources to educating and training its employees. It's Zevitz, I don't know why I keep whatever. However, it takes time to develop competent mana miners and sediment handlers. Regardless, developing skilled, educated personnel and providing a safe work environment were top priority. On the other hand, Hive's strategy was to completely ignore all such safety protocols and exploit the poor economic situation. Hive strategy, Process 1. It's a drug extracted from mana, creating humans who could continue to work without sleep or rest, and who could produce antibodies that could combat mana. Furthermore, the subjects of the drug were promised lifetime employment, immunity to low-level mana shock, and superhuman strength. Hive poured its efforts into marketing itself as an entity that could grant these kinds of abilities, serving to excite subjects all the more. The masses ate up Hive's hyperbole-filled slogans. It was a devious strategy that resonated with everyone at the time when employment was at an all-time low. Hey, that was just too much. Yeah, the after effects on subjects, I can't believe they're all that horrible. Completely losing it because of insomnia, turning into nothing but skin and bones, bodies rotting away due to partial and mana shock. The abbey was filled with the victims of Hive's operations. Some patients even had to be carried off to a church in the neighboring town. I know. It said, "We have another problem." I brought Ellen to the Medica's chief over to Freyr's to propose the construction of a general hospital over fights, but they gave you the stink eye? Yes, or rather we were assailed with some rather unbecoming speech. It was because of people like us that the god in the mana was angered, causing these victims in the first place. This was the divine retribution for being blinded by our greed and desire for convenience. Damn. I can't exactly say whether or not the priest was right. But this isn't the time for that. I believe we need to pursue the Medica project even more now. Why doesn't the government just outlaw the human testing of Process 1? That would solve the problem altogether. I'm sure that if the Board of Science would do something, the government would. I doubt that. Why? People are dying here. The technology to create Process 1 for mana was developed on the outer pole. Only those who have been trained can make it. And of course you need to use machinery that's only available on the outer pole. So here's my take on the whole situation. The government, the Board of Science, and Hives are all in all cahoots. Secretly exporting Process 1. What? Why would they do that? First possible use for it that comes to mind is the same thing that Hives does for their workers. Drugs to dope up crafters. Performance enhancement for armies, or maybe they found ways to weaponize the stuff. Well, it's still pretty new substance, depending on where the research goes. They could find all sorts of uses for it. No. Well, not that I have any proof or anything, it's just a guess. Sid, the worse your predictions get, the more likely they are to be true. Anyway, putting that aside, let's get back on track. Like Albus said, I don't plan to give up on getting that hospital set up. But Sid, a vast majority of those patients would rather seek salvation from the church than medical attention from a hospital. I'm sure they tried to get into an overcrowded abbey and a newly built hospital. And if that isn't possible, they just resign themselves to death. Do people hate us that much? That can't be. We didn't do anything for people to hate us that much, right? I suppose to the average layman, there isn't much difference between Hives and us. In any case, I don't see any real point in constructing a hospital with the way things are going now. Damn, what do we do then? Well, Sid, I have a plan. What you said about the government and Hives earlier got me thinking. Why don't we just make the church allies with Spites? Huh? Financial backing is a given. We renovate their facilities, get them new equipment, maybe we can build a new abbey together. But we name the hospital after the church, put under their management. But in exchange, the actual hospital's operations will remain under Vice Medica. What about that? What? As they say, Rex regnant et non gubart. They will reign, but not govern. Wait, just a minute here. The entire thing's gotten so huge, I don't know where to begin. Besides, they clearly hate us. What makes you think they'd even want to work with us? I have a good idea. An idea? I heard that a number of sisters passed away from the blah 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 blah. Man, this game gets deep into topics you wouldn't expect. Yeah. I heard that quite a number of sisters passed away from the other day due to contagious form of mana shock. There were some who put their life on the line, trying to subdue the patients who had grown violent and unstable. They tried to quell some men who were many times stronger than they were, muscles swollen from the doping effects, with love as their only weapon. Anyway, they all did everything in their power to provide the utmost care for their patients. Sid, we should dedicate our next project on absolute obedience of Automata to the sisters. Automata. And rather than models specifically made for the mana mines, we should focus on creating humanoid models to help support the sisters. That way they can protect the sisters from any contagious forms of mana shock or any patients who get too violent. Lynn. That's quite an ambitious plan, but it might actually work out. I'll pass the proposal to our mechanical engineering partners about this. There's a sort of poetic justice to all this. For people like us who make a living of science, perhaps the least theistic thing here is to be saved by religion. Like, we have to pay attention to the little details like that. We just have to focus on caring for patients and minimizing the victims. A few days later, we headed to the church. Father, we are indebted for being allowed an audience today. But of course, anything for the famous president of Sveit's Enterprise, whom the church so despises. Now, what is it? Mr. Sid Sveitz, what is that you and your organization need of us? My wife told me about your circumstances here the other day. I heard that many of the sisters here had become victims of the subjects they were trying to save. That is the unfortunate truth. The state of affairs was brought about by the competition between you and Hives. By playing with mana, you treat the blessings of God like mere toys. Do you understand that is blasphemy? Do you have anything to say as a fool who chose to ignore their faith and blindly pursue science until its bitter end? Oh dear. I have no words to offer in my defense, but we at Sveitz have no intention for just giving up. Even if Sveit's Enterprise were to abandon this mana race and let Hives win, we won't put a stop to the victims. I could confidently say that we were on the side of the good here. We conduct our business with the highest morale and ethical standards. To me, the nature of your business and Hives is one and the same. I am well aware of that. However, I want you to understand we will not back down against Hives. We have our own beliefs to adhere to. Why do you continue to rebel against God like this? It is God's will that we must simply accept, so we can carry out His divine plan. Is it that difficult to simply accept what has been given to you, and live a life within your means? Science is nothing but the height of folly. It is proof that you're ungrateful to the blessings and the life you have received. Sure, that might be the case for you, but let me tell you this, Father. As so long as we humans have this thing called curiosity, the march of science will never stop. We just had to find out about the hidden possibilities of mana. No, it's not just about mana. You tell a human being to live in this world without trying to satisfy the curiosity? That's just plain impossible. And curiosity is another one of those gifts that your God gave us humans, isn't it? Blasphemy. Do you want to meet with me face to face simply to lecture me on God and human nature? No, we came here because we'd like to pitch something. Pitch? What could this be now? We're currently developing machines to assist with work on the mines. They'll be powered by mana to help understand what we have to do and carry out those commands. What in the... However, we decided to stop work on that. Instead, we have decided to devote our time to creating machines to provide support to the sisters of the church. And why exactly would you do that? Father, do you want to work with us at Spy... I beg your pardon? Right now, if we built a general hospital in town, there'd be far more people who would seek help from the church. But Father, that just isn't going to work out. Sorry to say, but what you're doing isn't going to save a single life. The only way to save people who are dying from mana is with mana itself. We have completely different values, but I'm sure that we share the same fundamental desire to save as many people as we possibly can. Please, let us work with you. I'm sure patients wouldn't have any problems if you have them go to a hospital that has your blessing. I see. And there, we're gonna have our machines take the place of sisters instead. We've already partnered with an engineering company to make sure they look perfectly human. They'll have as much humanity as we do. If you let the machines deal with any dangerous patients, I'm sure you can prevent any sisters from losing their lives. The Sisters Project is our way of showing our sincerity in this proposition. Please, won't you consider? I see how it is. Surely a suggestion that could only have been put forth by someone so entrapped in worldly desires such as yourself. A suggestion that completely and utterly ignores the demands of our church. Well, No, that's enough. This is no longer something we can discuss. However, you wish to save as many as you can, correct? Your sentiment reeks of arrogance and a lack of concern for the souls of the deceased, but very well. I can understand your reasoning. We're very grateful for... However, we cannot accept those machines of yours. Why not? Don't you want to prevent any more of the Abbey sisters from becoming victims? Of course I want to put a stop to the victims, and I wish to save as many people as we can. However, those patients have all come here seeking salvation from God, although I suppose you atheist heathens won't understand. No matter how well they can mimic human behavior, like how a hymn sung without a heart won't heal, prayer from something without a soul will not save anyone. Was Sid just silenced by a member of the clergy? Still, from such non-believers to save lives in the name of the church, your convictions have come through. I will need some time. Oh my. My mind sync was cut? Ugh, the connection just... Oh no. Sorry, I'll get it patched up now. Milady. More importantly, how's your condition? Well... Oh, I mean, how do you feel? Yeah. No, what I mean is, God, this is such a pain. This is the first time I've had so much difficulty connecting a dive right. Is that the... blah, blah, blah. Is this case that much different than usual? There has to be just the right amount of pressure from external mana so that internal mana can stabilize. Being able to refine mana consistently is quite a difficult feat. Even though we look to be the same people, it's amazing how differently our bodies can function. It's like we're completely different species. I beg to differ. It all boils down to the presence or absence of mana. If we were able to stay here too long, then our mana systems would end up deteriorating. It would end up with the same physicality as you. Albus, you and we are all just the same human beings. I see. If I may, about that memory just now, you referred to this to a church. Does that mean there are also mana-related religions in the Outer Pole? There certainly are. In fact, that is why a company like ours was able to grow so much despite being anything but religious. It's thanks to Olene's idea that we partner with the church. Even in the Outer Pole, there are plenty of people who seek help from the god of mana. I never knew. The power of a pawn shop said... The owner of a pawn shop said that the god of mana had forsaken this land, which is what led to the development of science. And that's pretty accurate. Even though our principles and religion contradict each other, they can still coexist with each other. When it all boils down to it, us humans need something to believe in, even if it's a god who abandoned us. I had thought this was a land with nothing but self-serving individuals, but that wasn't the case. Sid and Olene were such a strong sense of duty and concern. Those two were truly amazing. There's so much I could learn... There's so much I could learn from such wonderful people. Agreed. I was fixated on working on simply conducting research, but those two... They were always wholeheartedly directing their efforts into making the Outer Pole a better place. It was often a reminder of the differences in our personalities when they were still around. What do you mean? I heard that Sid had already moved on to the next world, but has his wife, Ellen, also passed on as well? Yes, several weeks after Rune died, she had also passed away. You see, Ellen was killed by Rune. She laced the tea Ellen had always drank with Process 1 before it was refined into a drug. She was killed by her own flesh and blood daughter? I can't believe it. Rune also frequented Zevit's labs that actually snuck in and stole Process 1 that was kept for research purposes. She had taken enough to kill 10 adults. Directors and executives of companies from Outer Pole regions who were also supposed to merge with Zevit's were later found dead. Poisoned. Rune then committed suicide after. Thanks to that one incident, our dream, Sid's, Ellen's, and mine, our dream to expand Zevit's throughout the Outer Pole was completely scrapped. I was at a sincere loss for words. Just what could possibly have driven Rune to do all of that? At just 10 years of age, I heard that she was a problem child of sorts. No, this is far beyond that. The devil's spawn. She certainly does live up to that nickname. What was her motive? There must have been something that pushed her to do that, right? We couldn't find anything like that. Rune had a modality in her brain, you see. A portion of her brain wasn't working. Even if she was able to understand emotions like happiness, sadness, and anger, she couldn't feel them herself. She didn't feel fear or guilt, nor was she able to develop a sense of compassion. but could someone have developed such destructive tendencies just simply because of a lack of emotion? I don't know. Maybe Rune was special, but at this point there's no way for us to find out. Sorry to interrupt, but I finished the connection. Are you alright, Selphine? You're looking a little pale there. Yes. Do we continue from earlier? Yes. Alright, hang on. We'll be about the Sevitz siblings. Now, I have to warn you, it's gonna be rather disturbing. Are you sure you want to keep going? We are. Oh dear. A few years have passed since Sid spoke with the priest. The number of Hive's Sid victims continued to multiply drastically. Then one day someone from within the church came across evidence exposing the collision between the government, Hives, and the Board of Science. That was the clincher. A fissure formed in the long-standing relationship of the church and the government, leading to an agreement between Sevitz and the church. The industry versus the government versus the church. The level of discord among the three parties was truly unprecedented. In the midst of all that, Rune was immersed in his studies daily, both in the academy and at home, in preparation for becoming Sevitz Enterprises' next president. Just like his father, he also had a strong interest in mana, and didn't have any difficulty studying. Rito simply loved to learn. I remember him often telling Ellen that he was bored by the lessons at the academy. However, Rito, intelligent as he is, had one big concern: his little sister, Rune. At the time, Rune had behavioral issues. She always had a frown on her face, and the only time she ever smiled was when people got hurt. Everything she did had some trace of malintent to it. Whatever her actions were, they were always to cause people problems. One day, Rune finally did something that put the final nail on the coffin. Rune stabbed the family's son's eye with a stick, causing him to lose it. The whole incident with the Grovefields was a mess. No kidding. I wonder what caused Rune to do that. Was she not satisfied with something? I don't know. Ellen, she's just heartbroken. On the outside, she puts a smile on and says she's fine, but she's starving herself and her body's just... That's terrible. And I feel sorry for Rudo as well. I hope he isn't getting shamed or mistreated in school. This might be a good opportunity for him. Maybe it's about time. Age-wise too, sounds about right. He's lost in his own thoughts, huh? After the Grovefields incident, Rita had to stop attending school. The reason was never said out loud, but it was obvious. Rita was just around 10 years old when he began to work as a trainee in Sevitz. He studied daily in Lab 9, saying to be the very best in the industry for producing top researchers, and started becoming more and more introverted. Now that I think about it, it must have been tough for him. As a child, Ruda was somewhat lacking in imagination. To be blunt, he wasn't fit to be a researcher. Both I and the other members of the lab thought so. Ruda truly had a talent for learning. However, he had difficulties coming up with anything new that was outside of what was taught to him. They were expecting him to have an eccentric imagination, just as Sid did when he was young, but unfortunately it was all for naught. On the other hand, he was very careful not to offend people with his words or actions, and was very considerate of others. As time passed, everyone around him slowly came to see him as someone who couldn't succeed Sid. A few years after Ruda began working in Lab 9, Rune's house arrest, the consequences of the Grovefields incident, was lifted. Rune was often brought by her home tutor to visit the lab. As time passed, it became clear. Though Ruda was said to be a prodigy in his aptitude for learning, Rune greatly exceeded his capabilities. Just a few months after Rune started to take trips into Lab 9, she was able to answer the unsolvable battery problems that had been plaguing the sisters' machines for years. Everyone was speechless. It was then that I saw a glimpse of Sid's inventiveness and creativity. No, she truly solved a problem that Sid himself couldn't. Probably everyone in the lab thought that she would surpass Sid as a researcher someday. Rudo began to slowly lose confidence in himself. Even after things calmed down from the Grovefields incident, and he began to get along with Rune, Rudo was lost and didn't know what to do, and it was written all over his face. Eventually, Rude only did administrative work in the lab. It seemed to have dawned on him that he couldn't compete with Rune. And even then, Rune joined in the administrative work, just as an assistant, and took his job away from him. Sometimes it looked as if Rune was deliberately driving Rudo up the wall psychologically. There was a slight air of hostility to it. No, hostility isn't the right word. There didn't seem to be any motive to it. From an outsider's perspective, it was just a little sister helping out her older brother, nothing more. Whether it was intentional or not, a normal person wouldn't have noticed. One day, Sid and Ellen came to me for advice. Look, I'm not against sending her off to school, but I just don't see the point. I've heard you already, Sid. I don't want to hear I want to hear what Albus has to say about the matter. Hey, Albus, what do you think? Could I have your honest opinion? Should Rene go to school, or... I don't see any problem with that. 6 whole years have passed since the incident with the Brookfield boy. That's not the point. She's been studying at Lab 9 all this time. What do you expect her to pick up at school? I think it's a waste of time. I'm not referring to her studies. We need to introduce her to society. She doesn't have anyone her age that she can call a friend. We need to at least try to let her live a normal life. And just who exactly determines what's normal and what isn't? I agree with Albus. Rather than holding her up in the dimly lit laboratory, I'd rather she live and behave more like the young lady that she is. Pretty surprising to hear that from Ellen, considering how insistent you were about her education. Well, of course she still has to maintain her studies. However, I think we're pushing Rune far too hard in that direction. She may look perfectly comfortable with how she is now, but I think she needs time to interact with other children her age as well. You really don't share that opinion, Sid? If you're asking me for my personal opinion, I don't think people's skills are all that cracked out to be. If she keeps at that work, she's gonna end up picking them up, whether she likes it or not. I swear, why is this man just so... Sid, you really should think about your abilities a little more. Your standards are well and far removed from what is considered as normal. Well, all that aside, my final decision is to let Rune choose whatever she wants to do. I don't plan to rob her of her ability to choose. She's got the right to. I knew it. Do you agree with him then, Albus? I do. Considering Rune's age, it should be the both of you making the final decision. But I certainly agree with respecting her opinion as well. I have to have Rune undergo a physical examination. I'll let the hospital know too. Thank you, Albus, really. I hope Rune appreciates the sentiment. It was a few weeks after that. Just before Rune was about to be enrolled in the academy, she had a physical exam done in the lab. Using the MRI device that Sid developed, I examined Rune's brain. What the? Is the machine malfunctioning? No, that's impossible. We just conducted maintenance on it yesterday, and it's calibrated just right too. It can't be a problem with the machine. Albus, these are Rune's scans, right? Is this even possible? This means that she can't feel any emotion. That's absurd. A human like this couldn't exist. Don't tell anyone about this, Voltal. Ellen's an especially sensitive time right now. When the timing's right, I'll make sure to tell Sid. The portion of Rune's brain which controlled human emotions was non-functional. What exactly this meant, none of the members of the lab nor I knew at the time. While concealing Rune's name, we asked other staff in the Medica, but not a single person even knew of the condition. But it was obvious that it was something wrong. MRI itself was still a new young technology. However, the very first person to respond to this was Rudo. Rudo clearly knew something that we didn't. It was a few months after Rune admitted into the academy when he revealed it to us. What's this book? Lie Spotting. It's a book about the psychological nature of lies and how to detect them. Oh, Albus. Good evening, Rudo. I have to talk with you. What's the matter? Rudo's story came out of nowhere. Rene is killing small animals at a park nearby. Honestly, it sounded so absurd that I couldn't believe what he told us. Ever since the Grovuk Seals incident, Rune had grown up to be a good girl. Deep in my heart, I harbored a small doubt. What if Rudo was using that brain scan as a pretense so he could get revenge on Rune? He had more than enough reason and motive to do so. Against the gentle Rune, Rudo must have felt desperate given their positions. I don't expect you to believe it, though. How do I even react? Have you told Sid and Ellen? No, well, not directly. I kind of played it off, saying that Rune might be up to something bad again. If I didn't, I'm sure Mom would get hurt again. I see. Yes, the only other person I could think to talk about this is you, Albus. Sorry, Rudo, but I think the only thing you can do for now is keep an eye on the situation. If I can do anything to help, I'd be more than happy to. But right now, even if something you've told me is true, it's still not enough justification to take action right now. If I brought it up the topic saying that I heard everything from you, if they decide to ignore it, then that'll be the end of it. You're right. By the way, what is this book for? Is this for taking measures against Rune? Yes. Rune, do you think Rune is a chronic liar? I'm not sure. But Rune displays far too many tendencies that are described in that book. Such as, for example, people who lie habitually are very capricious by nature. They hate staying in a single place. Once they get bored with things, they head elsewhere. Now that you mention it, she does say that she wanted to see the outside world. It's not just that. They're always smiling, but it's only their mouth that's in a smile while their eyes remain expressionless. Whenever you talk with them, they end up looking at you straight in the eye too much. There's a lot of people in and around town who haven't accepted Rune. When I asked them why, they told me they couldn't on a biological level. I think it's an instinctive repulsion to her behavior. It doesn't matter whether the person in question is an adult or a child. When they have something that feels foreign to us, that they become the target of fear and alienation. I think Rune already knows that she's causing people to feel disgusted at her, and is intentionally behaving that way. More than that. Rudo? I'm sure that Rune is planning something. She's building up her knowledge so she can trick us. There's got to be something that she's planned, something much worse than Brookfield's incident. Wait a moment there, Rudo. Aren't you jumping to conclusions there? She's been such a good girl this whole time. Now, I'm not going to completely ignore what you're saying, but as an adult, I have the obligation to look at everything fairly and impartially. I'm sorry. I may have said too much. I wasn't exaggerating. Even I still remember that conversation clear as day. I paid no attention to Rudo's warning. That was the greatest mistake I'd ever made in my entire life. A few weeks after that, Ellen collapsed. And several days after that, 12 of the top brass from Zivit's business partners all died from process 1 poisoning. Rune disappears from the mansion. Another few days after that, a transport ship arrives at Outer Pole. Rune's body is found on board. A few weeks later, Ellen breathes her last Wellens Vides Medica. Those events constantly play themselves back in my mind over and over and over. From that point forward, Zevitz began to collapse in on itself. Sid, having faced no greater calamity than this, was broken. Even though he had endured all the trials and difficulties of his past, Sid just completely broke down. He wouldn't even listen to me or Rudo. His work at the company went practically untouched. Instead, he holed up inside Lab 9 and barred anyone from anyone else from entry. It was on one of these days. It was just as the Sisters project was approaching completion. In the end, the church refused to make use of the Sisters, but the frames that were built were repurposed to work in the mana mines instead. During a meeting to discuss where the Sisters were to be deployed, Sid suddenly showed up. What? You want to pay the Sisters for their work? That's right, I want their service compensated. What brought this on? Why? We're just barely scraping by as is. Why should we pay machines of all things? Huh? Because that's an order. Anyone who objects is fired. End of story. Sir Sid, are you serious, sir? Well, you guys deal with that then. Wait a minute, Sid. This is an abuse of power. Just tell us why. We'll listen to you. Why the hell do I have to explain every single damn thing I have to say? Even if I took the time to explain it, you're all a bunch of idiots who wouldn't understand, so I don't even bother. All you need to do is just follow what I say like the servants you are. What's the matter with you, Sid? If these people weren't here with you, Zevitz might as well never existed. Who's the one who holds the power? Me. I don't need to take any smack from people without any vision. What the hell? You have just abandoned your job just like that? Do you have any idea how deep in danger the company is in right now? What do you say, boy? Open your damn eyes, you senile old man. Your job as the CEO of this company is to reassure everyone working here. Did you forget that? What the hell happened to your sense of right and wrong? Your morals? Were you this weak that you can't even stick to them now that your wife is gone? You're spouting some pretty big words for someone who is even half a man, eh, Rudo? Get a grip, Dad. With how things are right now, I don't need sympathy from the likes of you, freaking kid. Y'all can pretend to run the company for all I care, but this is my company. I built it from the ground up, and I can raise it to the ground if I damn well please. Now you better follow my orders, and anyone who gets in the way of my research no my. Urk. Sir. He's vomiting blood? Hey, Sid, are you alright? Don't touch me. Ugh. That glug. Sir Sid. Damn it. That night, I was called by Rudo. Rudo. Just who exactly is Rudo Zevitz? Come again? This morning, when I looked at the mirror, I saw a man I don't even know. That man didn't have a shred of sadness in him when his little sister passed away. In fact, I'm feeling nothing but relief. Rudo. My little sister should have never been born. She just hit her head against something and died when she was young. Now, I'm finally free. Such were the man's sad, heartless thoughts. Now, Albus, is the Rudo Zevitz, you know, the kind of young man who would harbor those thoughts? Was he a person with such a warped heart that he would instead rejoice in his sister's death rather than mourn it? However, there's still something I owe my gratitude to that thing for. That devil in disguise taught me one thing, and one thing only. That people are always controlled by their emotions. In this era, what we need are logic and rationality. Well, damn indeed. This is a time. A timey time. The only people who have the right to talk about emotions or sympathy are those who have thoroughly pursued logic and rationality. My father was unable to do that. He's a weak man who tried to devote himself to some sorry excuse for philanthropy, but couldn't even follow through all the way. Rudo. There are far too many barriers in this world. Sid Zevitz have been taken over by madness. His time is over. From now on, I shall lead Zevitz. I have the power to. That day, the dam had been holding Rudo back finally broke. His growth since then was incredible. That kind, warm Rudo was nowhere to be found. He had truly changed as a person. Although he was mediocre in terms of research, his track record in management easily dwarfed Sid's. Rudo put forward an avant-garde plan to save Zevitz. In order to deal with the mass murder that Rune committed, he established a corporate system. By taking in outside investors as members of the company's board of directors, he succeeded in changing the company's image from a family business to a corporation. Rudo, why wasn't I prepared a seat here? Well, now your seat certainly has been prepared, Mr. Grookfields. Because I demanded for one, that's why. You, don't tell me you've forgotten what your sister has done. Thanks to that girl, I lost my family and my life has been ruined. Your father seems to have understood the circumstances, but what about you? Don't tell me that just because you've taken his place, you consider that the past all water under the bridge, do you? For the love of. The father that has gone completely insane. The son feels really abuses his position, and the daughter is a damned murderer. Just what is wrong with your family, huh? I've been working in this company for 10 years, and if you don't treat me accordingly, you better watch out, you little punk. Crooksfield, did you just... I see. If I don't treat you accordingly, I had better watch out, is it? My, you sure have quite a head on those shoulders. What do you just say? You little kid, just try saying that again. Mr. Crookfields, do you understand the situation you're in? Right now, you're dancing on the stage, front and center. Listen, to this company, you're nothing but a persistent little stain on a glass window. Leaving you on or wiping you off, there's no real difference. However, the more it stands out, the more of an eyesore it becomes. Ugh. Doing worse than Crookfields. No need to flounder about like that. Having gotten remunerations for both your one-eyed son and your wife, you could surely consider yourself a success in life. You can relax and let that fat belly of yours hang out as you enjoy your life to the fullest. Why, you son of a... If the talentless burden like you even thinks of trying something, I'll have you swept out like the garbage that you are. Ugh. Why do you think who do you think you are, you son of a bitch? I don't have to take abuse from a little shit like you. Son of a bitch. Don't think I'm gonna take this lying down. I'm gonna whittle you down to your goddamn bones, mark my words. Mild. Rito, I can see what you're getting at, but do you think you went a little too far back there? Too far? What do you mean? Buck Rook feels. It's nothing to do... It's nothing to concern yourself over, Albus. More importantly, now that we've become a publicly traded company, there are far bigger things to worry about, beyond Crookfields. The problems are only about to start. Just as Rudo said, we had lost a great number of excellent employees. However, we also gained as many talented young employees. With the passage of each year, Rudo continued to rescue Sevitz from the brink of closure. The company full of warmth that Sid and Ellen had once protected now changed into an efficient system. Sevitz grew to many times its size, since Sid had first established it. It had recovered to the point where it could trade blows with hives. Rudo's system of corporations and stocks planted the idea of investing even among the common layman and created an interest in business as a whole. Thanks to that, hives found it difficult to get by on just marketing alone. Since then, hives and Sevitz have been competing primarily on a technological front. Sisters, subjects, medica, energy, pharmaceuticals, information technology. A new era of man had dawned on the outer pole. The people of the inner pole could no longer look down upon us. I believe we were able to build up an equally respectable level of technology. It was then. An appointment? What do you mean I need an appointment? Well, that is, it's company policy. Aw, come on, miss, don't be such a hard ass. I was gonna talk with him for a couple of minutes. Well, hurts. Yo, Albus, perfect timing. Well, you can forget about him, I'll deal with this. Yes, sir. Jeez, what the heck happened? Everything's gone in all by the book here now. The direction of the company's changed and all. Time's changing. Changing? I hate it. I hate it, I tell you. Everyone's trying to be goody two-shoes now. What's the point of following the times over and over like that? Haha. Kurtzman, you never change, do you? But really, why don't you just tell her your name? You'd have to say Gorkfields, so she would have easily passed you through to your uncle. Stop it, man. Just thinking about how me and that guy are actually related is depressing. Duly noted. Has your dad still not reconciled with? You mean with me, or my uncle? Your uncle. Can't say. I suppose when one of them kicks the bucket, then the other will show up to the funeral. My dad, he took Marcos in and cared for him like he was his own son. Whatever happened in their place is none of my own business, but my uncle's let the money get to his head a little too much. He got filthy rich, but he doesn't give us a cent to help raise the kid. Hurts. Well, what's all in the past now? As long as he doesn't show his mug around me, then I ain't gonna do anything. Hahaha. Haha. It really has been a while. Just hearing that laugh of yours puts me at ease. That's because for someone like me, my laugh's my only selling point. And how are you doing lately, Albus? Looking more and more like the old fogey, I see. You would too if you had to deal with this much work. You guys should just stop playing businessman and drop by the tavern once in a while. I'm sure Sid and Rudo's got a lot on their plates, but you need a breather once in a while too. That is true. By the way, what brings you here today? Oh yeah, that's right. See, Sid stopped putting in orders for clothes all of a sudden. He's always had me working on something at least once every half a year, but we haven't met for a whole year now. So I just dropped by and pay a visit. What's with that lurk of yours? Something happened? Hurts. Sid's not doing very well right now. It's been like that ever since Ellen and Rune passed away. He'd hole up in the lab, working on who knows what, like a man possessed. Who knows what, so it's not work? He isn't even in the right condition to do any work now. Sid just refuses to listen to anyone, and when he talks, he either gives some nonsense order or says something outrageous. Rudo's taking the reins and is now leading fights now. Rudo is? That's amazing. Why is the little kid taking over? You may not even recognize who he is if you met him, Hurts. Rudo's completely changed. Actually, ever since the incident with Rune, everything's changed. Is that so? Hey, let me chat with Sid. Meet with Sid. Yeah? He said you should just leave him alone for now. Aw, come on. It's fine. If he's busy with work, then I think twice. But if he's just twiddling his thumbs, then it's a different story. It's a lot more serious than that. Seriously? That's just what you think. Hurts, that's just what you think. But you haven't seen what Sid's like now. And what do you think? And how do you think I'm gonna see if you won't let me? Hurts. Look here, Albus. In my whole entire life, Sid's the toughest son of a bitch I've ever met. He's always stuck to his guns, no matter what life threw at him. You're telling me he's broken down? Just means he needs a little tune-up is all. Slap some sense into him. Alright. But you better not regret this. Is that you, Albus? Only people who could have mana signatures to open that door lock are you and Ellen. I told you not to come in here, didn't I? Hey, Albus, answer me. Hey, good old Hertzman is here too. Sorry, Sid. I just had to talk Albus into letting me drop in. Hertzman. What do you want? What do I want? What don't I want, Sid? You've been my regular for over 15 years now, and you suddenly just stopped showing up. And of course I'm gonna worry. Which is why I'm here paying you a visit. That's so. Albus, Hertzman. Anything. Get out. I'm busy. Hey now, what's with the greeting? I'm telling you to get the hell out of here. I don't have time to waste on either of you. Cough, cough. Ugh. Sid. Don't touch him, Albus. What? We need to get him to a doctor. Sid, just how long have you been hacking your lungs up? Oh, that ain't none of your damn business, cough. I'm getting a doctor now. Don't you even dare call a doctor, Albus. What? Why? He's bleeding profusely here. If we just leave him like that, then don't make me repeat myself. You call a doctor and I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. Why? Speak up, Sid. When did these symptoms start showing up? Damn it, answer me. Can't even watch this. I see, you can't even speak straight. Look me straight in the eye and nod or shake your head. You damn sure you don't need a doctor. Ha ha, cough. No. Ugh. Face off. Cough. Alright. So if that's how you want it, Sid. Albus, we're taking off. Yeah? But... Just shut up and get over here. Come on, we're leaving. Ugh. Why didn't we call for a Dr. Hertz? You could stay calm out. How could you stay calm after seeing Sid like that? Calm down for... How could I possibly calm down? He looked like he was on the verge of dying. If we leave him be, then... You don't get it, do you, Albus? Get? What is there to get? You've been with him for too long, so you don't see the big picture anymore. Relax. Once you calm down, you'll figure it out. What are you talking about? At this rate, he'll... Look, if you really care about Sid, then you'll just need to leave him be. Let him do what he wants. Albus, I'm only going to say this once, so listen up. The best thing you could do for Sid right now is let the man die doing what his heart desires. Yeah. Well, I've said my piece. Whether you decide to listen or not is all on you. That stubborn son of a bitch. But I can rest easy now. See you around, Sid. Entry number 9. Yeah, just a little, just a little longer. I'm almost. Ha ha ha. It was a week later. I simply could not let Sid be and decided to walk back into Lab 9. It was then... Albus! Sir Albus, we have an emergency. Bothell, Nijik, what's wrong? You look aghast. Sid activated Lab 9's emergency protocol. He what? All the backup mana lines have been cut. That's absurd. The emergency protocol fills the entire lab with colored mana. If a living human being was in here, he'd... Do you think Sid's trying to commit suicide? Voltha, get Rudo here, now! Kirky, come with me. We need to find a way to stop the protocol. Yes, sir. Of all interruptions. So how much time has passed since activation? Rudo, I hear the backup mana lines have all been severed. Is there any valuable equipment inside? Who cares? Sid is still in there. He is? So he is. Oh well. Let's get a doctor on standby just in case. I assume I'm already pressed for time as is, and I don't have time to deal with funeral arrangements. How dare you? Why do you look so exasperated, Albus? Sid Zavitz died a long time ago. All that's left there is a deranged hollow shell that's remained of him. Enough, Rudo. If he died doing whatever it is he wanted doing, then good for him. Enough! How dare you speak like that about your father? Is that how you address the person who gave you life? Sir Rudo, Albus, the door's opening. It seems the cleansing's finished. I found Sid's body inside the lab. He died from acute mana shock due to the sudden influx of colored mana, just as Rune had. Sid, what were you trying to accomplish here? The entire company, Lab 9, was packed with the most expensive equipment. Amongst the equipment there were some sensitive instruments that constantly had to have mana flowing through them, otherwise they would break down. Kirky, lend me a hand. We need to restore the lines. We can't see a thing in this darkness. Understood. It was when Kirky and Volthal reconnected the backup mana lines which Sid had disconnected that we discovered. What? Time froze. What lay beside Sid's corpse was... Oh. I don't believe it. What is this? Is that a new sister prototype? No, that's impossible. She's gotta be human, right? Clearly? There's no mistaking it. There doesn't seem to be a pulse, and I can see the irises and the cameras in its eyes. Oh my. It moved. Alright, who activated it? We didn't even touch it. It just started moving on its own. Can you talk? Do you have a voice feature? Hello, world. It seems to be the type that can speak. Do you have a name? Name? What is the name? It looks like there wasn't any basic information loaded in. A name is a term that serves as an identifier for oneself. My name is Lothal. This guy is Kirky. His Albus, and that man over there is Rudo. Rudo? Oh, it seems to recognize Rudo's face. Rudo. Brother? It must be some kind of mistake. You don't have a name, right? Name. Something that serves as my identifier. I cannot remember, but I remember being called by something a long time ago. Then from now on you're Sarah, remember that. The project's title? How arbitrary. Sarah? Indeed. If you're asked by anyone, then you are to introduce yourself as Sarah. That's in order. Understood. Is this going to be deployed at the church? The church? It's something that happened before you joined the company. Before, when both Sid and his vice were still alive, they were in agreement with the Abbey. We would create sisters who look just like humans for the Abbey, and they would take care of the victims of the Hive's operations. We would create sisters who look just like humans for the Abbey, and who would take care of the victims of the Hive's operations. But ultimately, we weren't able to create any sisters to the standards of quality that they were demanded. They said that even though they looked human externally, they were lacking on the inside. God damn it, Dad, what were you thinking? It was later discovered that Sid had falsified financial records without the accountants knowing. He had laundered vast sums of money to develop a new prototype sister. Did Sid not leave a single memo on this? All the documents on the manware and software on the terminals and equipment, they all had been purged because of the emergency protocol. And his planner? Sid always carried a planner around with him, making sure to take notes on everything. About that, it's been burnt to a crisp. Burned? That's not all. Every single document Sid's kept here for the last 2-3 years were all burned. Seeing how all of his notes and documents have been destroyed so exactly, he must have intentionally gotten rid of it all. But then why would Sir Sid have kept working to create this sister prototype up until his death? I've already told you about this. He was frustrated with the greatest failure in Zevit's Enterprise's history. When we parted with the church, he promised to the abbot that we'd make a sister that would be no different than a human being. But ultimately, we just couldn't deliver on that. I'm sure he wanted to put the final nail on the coffin on that before he died. Sid must have wanted to finish his greatest failure in life, the sister project. No, that couldn't be it. What makes you say that? If he wanted to create sisters for the church's use, then wouldn't he truly have met his goal if they could be produced en masse? But he intentionally burned all of his notes and documentation to prevent that. I told you, he wasn't thinking about mass production or even the company itself. He must have wanted to settle his personal conflict with himself. Otherwise, why would he felt the need to steal funding from his own company? But still, what is the meaning of destroying all of his documents? There must have been some other driving force behind it. Gentlemen, you're sorely mistaken about the problem at hand. What my father was thinking, there is no way for us to ever understand it. To question the motives of a madman, the mere act is a utter waste of time. Albus, we don't have time to waste on foolish things like this. The amount of money that Sid has illegally channeled into this project of his is enormous. Actually, there'll be a meeting with the board of the directors about whether or not this new sister prototype justified its cost. I must go make the preparations for that. Please return to your respective workstations, everyone. Yes, you're right. It's rather hard to swallow all of this right now, but I understand. I need to recompose my thoughts. Once the date of meeting is set, please let me know. Rudo, we need to talk. I hope this isn't more useless banter, Albus. Enough, Rudo. Look at the model of sister. Doesn't anyone come to mind? Look. It's clearly Rune right there. Right. And you thought I didn't notice it earlier? Then why didn't you say anything about that? Because it's a matter of trivial importance. So what if she looks like Rune? That minor detail has no bearing on her current situation. Well, there is something I am now certain of, which is Sid Zevitz was truly ill. While still bitter about the loss of his daughter, he was infatuated with pretending that he could bring her to life. How disgraceful. Said Zevitz, the renowned scientist of the era, certainly has fallen far. Well now, it goes without saying that the issue is at the hand is the numbers, or finances. I believe it's best not to discuss this with anyone else. We don't want to cause any additional causes for concern for the board of directors. On that, and only that point, do I agree with you. I sincerely hope this thing has enough value to warrant its construction. Albus, please start preparing for the meeting as well. I'm against this. Look at it. Look at Sarah's mannerisms. Tell me, have you ever encountered a machine that could possibly respond this naturally, this humanly? Regardless of its psychological instability, this sister is like the work of a genius, the work which she put his entire life into. And so we can understand the origins behind its construction, I believe we need to continue observing it. It's almost disgusting the way it looks so realistic. As if it really were human. And why? What's with that expression on your face? Is that some kind of function to upset people on purpose? No, I apologize. It's as if it has emotions as well. This has to have been a sister for the church's use. If it has emotions recreated as well, it has to be a model of the sister created for its original purpose, no doubt about it. Impossible. You need to scrap this or get rid of it as soon as possible. Despite that small frame, it possesses the strength of 10 men. If it decides to rebel against us, who knows what could happen? Refusing to listen to other people's opinions, as always, I see. You're screaming, no, no, and you still call yourself an adult? I was asked for my opinion, and I gave it. And I believe the same goes for you, regardless of how you chose to view it. To be honest, this scares me. I cannot, in good faith, agree with letting a machine whose thought processes we don't even understand loose anywhere near us. I don't think those fears are really justified. Sir can speak perfectly well and is able to understand what we are saying. You only have to approach it to understand that it is not something dangerous. Besides, Sid couldn't have built something intended to be harmful to others. Considering Sid's mental state at the time, I find that assertion rather hard to believe. All this aside, everyone, please. Have you forgotten about the money that has poured into making Sarah in the first place? Was it really created to serve as some kind of trophy, to be put into a goldfish bowl of some sort? If that was created as a mere pet project, then I refuse to stand for this. We need to do something right now to mitigate our losses. But if we don't even have any time to observe her, then it looks like we need to take a vote on this matter. By a majority vote, it was decided to observe Sarah. In the few weeks since then, Sarah slowly formed memories, and a personality began to emerge. At first she spoke very curtly, and only did what she was told. As time went on, she slowly became more and more human-like, to the point that other people wouldn't even notice that she was a machine. Although there were many skeptics among the board of directors, they all eventually accepted the fact that Sarah was something special. Soon after, she was placed in a field test to work in the Manheim mines temporarily, under my supervision. Wow, there's so many first-generation models of sisters here, Albus. About 90% of those working here in the mines are sisters that we built, in fact. Good morning, everyone. Pleased to make your acquaintance. All the sisters here don't speak. They're all purpose-built miners, so they don't have any access functions. I see. It's gonna be a little lonely. Do you really think that? Excuse me? Does that really make you feel lonely? Well, I wonder, why did I think it would be lonely? I'm not sure it feels the right word either. But the first thing that came to mind was that it would be lonely. Sarah worked diligently at its job. However, when compared to the sister's design specifically for work in the mines, its results were nothing spectacular. Ultimately, it was determined that Sarah was not designed for mining work. At the very least, we had determined that Sarah had no particular abilities, apart from bearing incredible likeness to humans. It seems that its memories are constantly growing, day by day. I have absolutely no idea how it's built. Then shall we dismantle it and find out? If If you wish to know what makes it tick, then that's the fastest way to do so. I can't do that. If we dismantled it, then we'd be unable to reassemble it. That's the consensus of all the members of the Lab 9 members. The board of directors wouldn't ever let us dismantle it, given our current level of technology. Excuse me. What is it? I don't think my name is Sarah. What? I don't quite remember very well, but I think a long time ago, Rune used to be my name. Do you mean... And you're Rudo, my brother... Sarah. Between your imperfect faulty memory, or what we say, which do you think is more credible? Everything in those so-called memories of yours, it's all a veil, a lie, a sham. All of those were implanted by your creator, Sid Zevitz, as some kind of sick joke. Don't ever utter the name Rune again. That's in order. Understood. Ever since Sarah's confession, Ruda's attitude toward her completely changed. Why does Sarah have Rune's memories inside of her? Did Sid actually intend to bring Rune back to life like this? Calling herself Rune, behaving like Rune, something as simple as that would have been child's play for Sid. But this isn't Rune. This could have been nothing but a fake created copy of Rune, just what was Sid thinking? There is no merit to this. But it's not true at all. Sid's original plan for these sisters was to introduce them to the church and let them take care of patients. As proof of that, I brought Sarah to the abbot the other day. Not once during the entire time we were there did he realize that Sarah was a machine. And despite all that, they still gave us their disapproval. Honestly, it's just disgusting. There isn't a man alive who'd ever feel comfortable around that bucket of bolts. I can't even tell when it's around or not because it doesn't even look alive. And just look at that face. Who knows what's going on in its head? I wholeheartedly agree with you. Even if, as the members of Lab 9 are also passionately assert that Sarah has the nanomechanisms to mimic emotion, what merit is there to being able to reproduce that function? I'd love to hear some concrete, useful applications of this. Well, the fact is the church has denied the proposal. That means there will be another hurdle to jump when it comes to using them as Zevitz Medica. If we continue to shove this new model of sister down their throats, they would be sowing unnecessary discord between us and the people whom we've worked so hard to partner with. We will not use it in Medica, nor will we use it in the church. In other words, there is no merit to mass-producing these. Rudo, why are you so stubborn about this? I would have expected that opinion from you. She may be the one and only automaton built in this entire world that's been built and equipped with this so-called emotional mechanism. If Sid was able to create something like that, then who knows what other mana-powered inventions lay ahead. Just what is a person? What is the conscious? What are emotions? This may lead to huge discoveries about the very philosophies of humans themselves. Certainly, mass production may be out of the question, but does that mean we can just disregard her entirely? I too refuse to change my opinions on this. At the very least, I believe that it's far too early to scrap her. And here we are, back to square one. Albus, what do you think of all this? I think this is far too early to dismantle her as well. While the systems running inside her certainly pique my interest, I cannot even begin to understand what Sid's intentions were. I'm slowly beginning to think that Sid wasn't entirely mad when he created Sarah. Not quite the answer I was expecting, but that means you're also opposed to dismantling her, yes? Very well. We shall continue to observe it. See you all tomorrow. Excuse me, Albus. Sarah? What are you doing out of this hour? Have you completed your task for the day? Just a short while ago, actually. I see. Which means you're off the clock now. May I have a moment to speak with you? Why the formality all of a sudden? Well, just what am I? That's quite the frank question. Am I, on the inside at least, really? Don't worry, Rudo won't know a word of this. Speak your mind. Well, I was created just 2 years ago, right? You were. It's strange. Inside me, what seemed to be childhood memories. They stretch back all the way to years and years ago, but I was just created only recently, so that can't be true. Albus, just what am I? Am I a machine that was just born to be a tool? If that's the case, then why was I born with these memories? I have no idea. And as for what those memories are inside of you, the only person who can answer the question is no longer on this world. That's Sid, right? Correct. Was Sid Zevitz an integral part of your life, Albus? Yes, he was my best friend. We were practically like brothers ever since we were children. Does Rudo take issue with the fact that I have these memories? Well, they certainly don't put him in a good mood, that's for sure. Sarah, let me just give you one word of advice, okay? Okay? Do not ever cause any trouble. I'll be frank with you. Rudo has been wanting to dispose of you under the guise of dismantlement. He will find even the slightest excuse to do so, regardless of how minor or trivial the reason is. Is that because my memory's inside me? That's right. Alba's be like, confronting a self-aware android was not on my to-do list today. I mean... Look, Sarah. I want you to listen carefully. If, and only if, you're able to do something wrong, consider that you're betting your entire being on the line. Do it with the resolve that that'll be the end of everything. My entire being? That's right. You seem to have an ego, a proper sense of self-identity. There'll come a time for you to assert that sense of self, I'm sure of it. Myself? But am I not the property of Zevit's enterprise? If that's the case, then I shouldn't have the right to bet myself, do I? If only you weren't just a machine. This is important. You'll come to understand someday or another. Another year passed. Lab 9 was able to produce 3 new prototypes using Sarah as their model. However, not a single one operated as well. There was clearly something fundamentally different about how Sid had created Sarah. Far too much time has passed with us not knowing what it really was. The board of directors had been split between those who wanted to observe and those who wanted to dismantle Sarah. Some members switched from observe to dismantle. This was about a month ago. With that, Sarah's dismantlement seemed all the more of a reality. As the days went on, Sarah's intellect grew rapidly. Using her own methods to measure and improve efficiency in both of the mines and the routine work in residential areas, she began to finish her task ahead of everyone else. That's the kind of work ethic and behavior was just like Rune's. Exactly like Rune's. From there, more and more people began to develop a disgust for Sarah's very existence. I think it's because she was too different. There was something about her existence that just triggered something in you instinctually, just like Rune did. A great deal of people began to consider her as a threat, subconsciously, and the ones who had been most affected by this was none other than Rudo himself. Rudo, is it true? Did you erase Sarah's memories? It seems like the access to Sarah's brain is protected by several levels of security. Zothal and his security managed to find a way to bypass the first level. I'm not asking you to explain how. I'm asking you why you erased her memories. All of the experience, the information, the knowledge she's accumulated. Albus, you should have realized this by now. It seems that Sid succeeded in recreating Rune's memories quite faithfully in Sarah. How he managed to do so, I have no idea. The way she moves and acts, they're all very reminiscent of Rune's own behavior. And what does that have to do with why you erased her? What does that have to do with it, you ask? Plenty. If by some chance even some portion of Rune's own personality exists within Sarah, then there could be no greater threat. I'm sure you're fully aware of how dangerous Rune was. But... I'd like to hear an explanation for all this. Do enlighten me on why things have turned out this way. I'm sorry, sir. I honestly have no clue. Theoretically, all our methods should be working. You. Do you know what your name is? Yes. My name is Sarah, but it was given to me by you, Rudo. Looks like it's not working. That's strange. We're doing the erasure procedure by the book. There shouldn't be anything wrong with it. Sir Rudo, this is just a guess, but we probably need the highest level of access privilege in order to erase the memories inside Sarah's core. We can't do anything with our mana. We can't do anything with only our mana signature. So many words. Okay, the audio's still fine. What about purging its eternal mana altogether? If we did that, it'll likely cease to function. That's not just a likelihood, it'll completely and utterly shut down. It'll be as good as scrap. Dismantling it would be the least of our concerns. Sir Sid, I'm honestly not sure as to why all of these complex safeguards were put in place. It's almost as if it's making sure that no one could ever tamper with it. Indeed. Damn. What should I... If your memories haven't been erased, then you ought to know already. Go back to work. Leave. Sarah, what's wrong at this time of night? Albus, you said that Sid was your best friend and an integral part of your life, right? What brought this on all of a sudden? Friends are important, right? Well, of course they are. There isn't anyone more important in your life than your family and friends. Thank you. Sarah, why all of the times for you to cause trouble? Why at this critical point? You knew there was going to be a votation regarding you 4 days from now. I remembered. I remember the advice you gave me a long time ago. Advice? Good grief, what is it this time? I swear, another emergency summons. Oh, Sarah. What, don't you even know how to greet someone? Good afternoon, Mr. Brookfields. This really is nothing but defective piece of junk. I heard you even stole sediment out of the mines earlier. What an absolute waste. We really should have you dismantled as soon as possible. I apologize. Discussing that matter is exactly why we have gathered here today. Please reserve your arguments for until the other members have come. Just how many do you even expect to come? You academics in your ivory tower may not know, but the other members of the board of directors are already speaking as if dismantlement has been assured. You ought to be grateful that I've even bothered to go to the effort of attending this meeting to confirm all this. Sarah. So that's how it is. I finally understand. You don't seem to quite grasp the entire series of events that's truly been bizarre. What Sarah is exactly, yes, indeed. However, I absolutely do not want to see her dismantled. Something inside me tells me so. Tomorrow, her dismantlement will be decided upon. I must come up with a way to protect her from that after our meeting. Is that even possible? Isn't the board of directors or something going to determine that by majority vote? If Rudo for some reason changes his mind, then I'm sure the direction of the entire meeting will change as well. There are many members who don't really have an opinion and will simply go along with whatever he decides. Albus? Yes? Please, let me meet with Rudo. I was actually thinking the same thing, but I'm sure you already know that, right? Correct. Albus' suggestion. We'll form a mind dive on Sarah. If we did that, then we could find out Sarah's real identity. However, when it came to Selphine's desire to perform the mind dive, it's alright, Yurtona. I'm sure he'll understand. Selphine had her own plan, which she had kept only to herself. Even I was unaware of what she had in mind. With only a lingering trace of doubt, we headed over to Lab 9 where Rudo was. So this is the laboratory. I thought it was rather unsettling when we spotted it as we roamed around town. But it seems science doesn't mesh well with me. It caused me too much discomfort. Let's head inside. Who? Rudo. Albus, I believe we have a strict policy on not allowing any outsiders into the lab, do we not? This isn't the time for that. I have something important I need to discuss with you. Can it not wait until tomorrow? I'm in the middle of putting together a presentation report regarding Sarah's dismantlement. That's exactly what I'm trying to talk about with you. I want you to reconsider this matter. How desperately are you going to cling to that thing? Isn't it about time to let go, Albus? Regardless of what you do, the opinion of the board of directors is not going to change. Don't you have any more important things to do? I didn't come here to change the opinion of any member of the board. I'm here to change yours. What? We want you to cease Sarah's dismantlement. And here I was expecting you to say something else entirely. Rito, these two people are manacrafters. This girl, Selphine, she used a craft that allows people's consciousness to communicate directly. That craft gives her the ability to let people share memories directly with each other. Oh-ho? Do you understand what that means, Rito? With this, we could all see into Sarah's memories and find out who she truly is. Don't you see? The question of Sarah's identity can finally be solved. I don't see, Albus. Let us say, hypothetically, that Sid Zevitz managed to use Rune as a model and implant her into Sarah. What purpose would it serve? For all we know, she may have inherited Rune's memories. How could Sid accomplish it? I don't know. And it's no exaggeration to say that she may be Rune herself. Enough with sorry excuses, and what would lead you to the conclusion in the first place? Regardless of the circumstances, there's no changing the fact that Sarah is a machine. It's nothing more than a prototype of a sister. An automaton whose development consumed vast amounts of Zevitz Enterprises' own finances. The fact that is Sarah is an object. But still, if I may, Selphine had been quiet the entire time, but she suddenly speaks out. Whether or not she is a machine has nothing to do with this. The issue at hand is whether or not she is Sarah or Rune. A prototype of your sister genius. Yeah. Albus, Rito, both of you have forgotten something crucial here. Something crucial? Yes. Which is what exactly? For starters, I'd like to propose my conclusion that she is Rune. How did you come to that conclusion? Simply based on what Sid had felt. There's no other possible conclusion. There's no way that outsiders like you could have known what my father was thinking. But I do. Through our dive with Albus, we were able to see Sid's way of life, his entire existence. Sid not just shut himself in the lab, losing his sanity to depression. I'm sure he did so to research a way to give your little sister, Rudo, a second chance at life. He created a heart for her missing emotions. For his own daughter, that so-called hellspawn, he used the path down. Path down? I see. If there's a scientific equivalent to the path down, then that possibility would be very likely. Transferring Rune's memories, that's exactly what the path down is. How did I not notice this before? And if she has emotions, then this entire issue is not even something we should be discussing, regardless of whether she is Rune or Sarah. With the dignity beaming from her eyes, Selphine speaks straight to us in a clear voice. This is like Kokoro, but cranked up to 11. I mean, a little bit, I guess, yeah. It is wrong to deprive her of her will, as a being in possession of a mind, heart, and spirit. Being a human or machine has no bearing on the matter. How shall I remember this very moment, a long time from now? The moment when the sense of justice was able to penetrate, regardless of any country's borders. Nonsense. Rito, perhaps you've realized it? That Sid created Sarah to give Rune the emotions that she never had? Absolute nonsense. If so, this may be a great precedent that could affect just what our definition of a human is. And if that's the case, then this is no longer a problem confined to just us. The Zevitz Enterprise has the right, no, the duty to confront this ethical issue straight on. Enough nonsense from you. Sarah does not have a heart. Fine, let's just pretend that we're true. Even then, Sarah's also completely cut its emotions off whenever it's ordered to do something. You can't just say anything has her heart when it can just turn its emotions on and off as easily as flipping a switch. That's... none of you understand. This kind of thing being my sister was lurking behind her smile, her senseless, meaningless acts of evil. If Sarah had inherited Rune's memories and personality, there couldn't be anything more dangerous. Still, if Sid succeeded in artificially creating emotions using mana, then enough of this foolish speculation. Why don't you just use theories of yours to write a novel or something? Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more pressing matters to attend to. Rudo. Confound it all, Rudo. We're not done here. Rudo. If Rune was born with emotions, with a heart, then would you be able to accept her as your own little sister? It already come to a point where there is no clear-cut right or wrong answer. However, as someone who stands above everyone else, you have no right to make that decision. As if you know anything. Is this all? All that we could have done? The sun, it's rising. Don't make that face, Sid. Your smile is so much more wonderful. You expect me to smile like this? Heck, how could you smile at a time like this? Who knows? I'm not sure either. I'm sure it's because I've just run out of tears to shed. Ellen, I'm so sorry. Really. I've always been so caught up with work that not once did I ever do anything for the family. Where brought this on all of a sudden? If only I'd been there for Rudo and Rune. If only I spent more time with them, then all this never would have happened. Ditching my family for my work. Don't say that, Sid. It's not like you regret the things you've done. I don't want to see you all weak like this. I just don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do anymore. Damn it. Tell me, Sid. Rune's issues, were they some kind of sickness? I've always thought to myself, if that girl had a heart, would she have lived a more normal life? I can't say for sure. Maybe that really was her real honest-to-goodness personality. And even if we managed to cure that flaw of Rune's, who knows what would change inside of her. I see. Does not having emotions really turn someone into that much of a mess? Does that mean that we're both born selfish and arrogant and messed up, and emotions are just a way to stop us, to keep us all in check? Heck if I know. You're right. Hey Sid, can you tell me something? Do you hate Rune? Don't know. Hate ain't the right word for it. I feel so helpless and miserable. Well, if you ask me if I hated her or not, then I guess I might have. If it weren't for Rune, then our family still be whole. That's what we think. But that's just a thought I can't really hold on to for long. So I've been left with nothing but feeling miserable. That's all. And what about you? At first, I didn't really feel anything. I was just in a daze. It was like my entire world was engulfed in a mist, and I lost sensation in my entire body. I had no words, no feelings, no thoughts. I could barely consider myself conscious. Nothingness. That was it. But as some time passed, I felt like I was attacked by a deep nausea, like I was going to throw up when I had a piercing headache. And it made me question why I was even here at all. It made me hate the fact that I was even alive. I wanted to die. Just living was painful. So painful. I'm sure I just didn't even know what to think. But you know what? It's strange. Even after all that pain and hardship and suffering that Rune made me go through, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I just couldn't come to hate Rune. I just wanted to talk with her one last time. To ask her what thoughts she had as she lived. To know what was going through her mind when she put an end to that short life of hers. and to simply ask for her forgiveness for not trying to understand her. I'm so sorry, Rune. Sorry that you had someone like me for your mother. What the heck? Why are you apologizing like this? You didn't do a single thing wrong. Don't lie for me anymore, Sid. Everything you've done was always for the kids. You're a damned fine mother. No, the only one I've been thinking of was myself. After the Grogfields incident, Rune finally settled down. I thought to myself that everything would go well. I could finally have a normal family life, is what I thought. But I think I already realized it. That something was just slightly off. It was ever so subtle that the discomfort could go away in a blink of an eye. But if I ever once put the feeling into words, if I ever once admitted that feeling, then our days of peace and quiet would all just shatter and fall apart. That's what I thought. I was so scared. But it's why I subconsciously pretended to not notice. I was simply chasing after an illusion, nothing more. A stupid illusion of a perfect ideal family. In the end, the only person who I was thinking about was myself. It's all in the past, Dylan. You can only say that because all of this happened. You lived your entire life for your family's happiness. I won't believe you for a second if you said you were only thinking about yourself. But the MRI results were right there. And more importantly, even Rita told me about her. Renee's behaving strangely, he told me. And how did I respond? Be nicer to her. I spoke as if it weren't my problem, and didn't even listen to a word of what Rito said. I was taking advantage of Rito's kindness. He's got his act together, and I can just leave it all to him, I thought. Because of how strong Rito was. I left him to deal with Rune. All of his worries. He just balled it up inside of himself. Even though I'm sure it was painful for him. He did all that for my sake. Ellen, I don't know what to think. Please, don't leave Rito alone, Sid. Yeah, I promise you. Take care of yourself and ease up that research of yours. Because once you're gone, Rito really will be all alone. Rito will never be alone. I promise you that. 7 hours, holy shit. Okay, what I can remember is an interest in the outside world. And the frustration with the fact that I couldn't escape this island, this bird cage called the Outer Pole. Frustration, I think, was what it was. I thought everything was just so unfair, but I didn't know how to express that feeling. Everyone around me had something, an objective, that would drive them to continue their day-by-day lives. But me, I was completely empty. The very first time I had experienced something akin to emotion was when I saw a bird twitching on the side of the road as a child. Perhaps it was attacked by another animal. Deep red blood seeped out of its neck as it convulsed, and eventually the bird stopped moving altogether. Some kind of feeling from deep within my chest desperately attempted to emerge. The onlookers voiced their pity for the bird. I said it was funny. Everyone stared at me with the strangest looks, and after seeing death right before my eyes, I wanted to see it again. I wanted to feel that feeling again. In hindsight, perhaps that really was pity. I wasn't even able to distinguish such a simple emotion. After observing the other people around me, I was able to mimic their own behavior. When I was a child, I was confined to the house. There were a few people who were always around. There were my mother and brother. My mother had a weak constitution, but whenever she spoke, she was very energetic. Although her body was weak, her spirit was strong. She was a very warm person. I didn't even know how to respond to that warmth of hers. And there was nothing stranger and more alien to me than her unconditional love. I can't even begin to comprehend it. My brother, even though he spoke gently, he always had a scowl on his face, and it was well deserved, because I was constantly causing him nothing but grief. Despite all that, he still worked hard every single day at Zevit's enterprise. Even though no one expected anything of him, he continued to diligently toil away in the shadow of his little sister. He was constantly anxious, being compared to his father by everyone around him. Always afraid of having succeeded his father, Sid Zevitz was a multi-talented one-in-a-million prodigy. The barrier had to scale reached part of the okay. Let's try that again. The barrier he had to scale reached all the way to the heavens. It was impossible. Rito himself knew this, and still chose to try to surmount it. He constantly aimed for the summit, not even knowing if he could make it to the top. I remember that upon seeing the brother of mine, within me rose a powerful desire to destroy it all. In hindsight, perhaps I looked up to him, for his persistence and grit to take on even the toughest challenges all by himself. All I could ever do was to mimic others. I was frantically trying to reconstruct a present, while on the other hand, my brother was reverent and single-minded in forging a path forward. I was just so jealous of that. Looking back on all this, there really is just a hair's breadth of difference between all kinds of emotions. I was actually driven by all these strange alien things called emotions after all. But I'm the one who killed my mother, and I'm the one who ruined my father, and I'm the one who caused my brother to suffer. Dad, why did you bring me back to this world? Why did you bring me back here just so I could wallow in despair? Is all this my atonement? If only, if it had been slightly different, then I wouldn't have caused all these people to experience such pain and suffering. I've done so many things I could never take back. I've committed so many wrongs that even my death could not hope to absolve. I was truly a being that should never have been. But then what am I? Is the man I consider my father truly Sid Sevitz? Was the person who I had always stared emptily at truly my brother, Rudo? Are my memories Rune's memories? Rune is someone who should never have been born. But then that means I should have never been born. Am I Sarah? If I am, then that means I'm only borrowing these memories from Rune. And if that's the case, then just what exactly is Sarah? Nothing makes sense anymore, but there is one thing I know. I didn't want to cause Rudo any more trouble. If he truly does find my existence contemptuous, then I would gladly die? Be destroyed? What? So what am I really? If only. If only I could have seen Miss Selfie and Miss Rotona once more. I wanted to tell them goodbye. Sarah. Yes? Your dismantlement will be determined by a collective vote tomorrow. Return to Lab 9 and stand by there for the remainder of today. Head straight to Lab 9. I've already informed Lothal and the others. Follow their orders. Understood. Master Ruto, thank you for everything. I believe. I order you to switch off your emotions. I couldn't. I've tried so many times, but it seems I don't have the permission to do so. If you couldn't do so, then why did you still follow with my order? How could you abide by my logical, preposterous orders without a single word of complaint? Because that's what you desired of me. Why are you smiling? Because I'm happy. What? I've always been taking things away from you, but now I can finally give you something that you've always wanted. Something I've always wanted? The possibility of me becoming Rune will cease to exist. I thought about just running away so many, many times. I thought about my death, my destruction. But if I disobeyed your orders, then you would end up shouldering the responsibility for my actions. Finally the time has come that I am no longer needed. If you have emotions, do you not feel fear? Aren't you afraid? I am afraid, very much so. So afraid that I just want to run away this very minute. But what I fear even more is that my existence will only serve to cause you even more pain. What? I know that you're a really nice, kind person. If you're always watching out for your little sister, you were always. I'm sure that back then, she didn't realize how dearly you thought of her. But now, I'm sure she can understand. Just how much of Rune's memories have you restored inside you? Have been restored inside you? I do not know. As time passes, fragments of the memories are slowly coming back to me. But as for whether those were truly my memories, there's no way for me to tell. Just what in the world are you? I don't know anymore. Not a single thing. But the one thing I do know. Rudo. I'm just a girl that admires you as my brother. But I don't even know what that means. Damn it. Rudo will never be alone. I promise you that. Damn it. Dad, you son of a bitch. Rune. Will you call me Rune? Is it okay? Is it okay if I could call you brother again? Do whatever you want. You mean it? That was the wrong voice. I don't care. Mother, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Rudo. It was a formula I've never once calculated right before my eyes. I don't think my processing could ever keep up with it. I think this is the source of the noise that's always been deep inside my heart. The emotions behind my destructive tendencies from before, my feelings for you as my brother. Why didn't I notice it sooner? This equation is so vast, I could just break it down. Yet it's so exasperatingly simple. What do people call this feeling? At first, I wish that I'd never given birth to Rune. I wish that I never left my hometown, moved to Cadia, and worked at Zevitz. I wish I never met you, that I should have just stayed and took over the family business. I wish that I never had anything to do with the name Zevitz, that a life like that would have been much better. But, that's impossible. I'm so glad I have you, and Rudo, and Rune. I love you all so madly from the bottom of my heart, so just thinking about it is depressing. A life without that girl. I couldn't possibly imagine that, even if I wouldn't end up like this. Ellen. You've had her ups and downs, but I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad I gave birth to Rudo, and even though the world may never forgive us for it, I'm so glad I gave birth to Rune. I'm so glad to have lived. Ellen. I love you, Sid. It was a fun life. Ellen. Everything's in your hands now. I have a favor to ask of you two. Would you take my little sister, Rune, along with your travels? She's always wanted to travel the world. As you can see, she isn't human, so she isn't subject to mana shock. Facts. Rune can go whenever and wherever. I'm sure she'll be of use to you. Whether or not she is of use or of no consequence. So of course we'd be happy to have her come with us. Victory pose. Self in. Oh yeah, I'm going now. She truly is a fascinating girl. It's hard for me to express the sentiment, but if I had to put it into words, just looking at her gives me a peace of mind. With my position, I've had to handle a great deal of responsibility at a young age. I'm confident as a good judge of character. Selvin has no hidden agenda, no ulterior motives. As if she understands her sense of justice so well she doesn't need to contemplate before acting on it. And her strong sense of curiosity gives off a strange but attractive radiance about her. Decades ago, the man who founded Zetsiv Enterprise possessed that same radiance, something which I do not have. Rudo. Ratona. What is it? Being called by my name all of a sudden feels rather off-putting. Take this with you. What is this? It's a device that uses technology to recreate that so-called Comcraft that you use. It's currently undergoing development. Using a certain wavelength of the mana stream called radio waves as a medium, it can be used to send messages and information. Is that even possible? Just how far do the capabilities of science extend? Pretty far. But as you've seen, the distance to your homeland is considerable. The burden of using mana to maintain a long-distance stream will have to fall on to one of the two parties, otherwise it'll be cut. Rune is certainly out of the question, and you can't even use your own internal mana as well, so how will that be maintained? We'll use sediment. As long as we continue to provide a constant supply to maintain the line, then I suppose there should be no trouble? Well, I suppose. Constantly using purified mana every single day when it's more valuable than even precious metals? Just how much of a financial strain would that be, I wonder? At the very least, it's certainly not something that any one individual could possibly afford. Oh, I see how it is now. Even though you are the leader of the company, wouldn't that be a problem with that board of directors if you use up that much money? Why would that be a problem? This is merely a field test of a new product's prototype. He answers nonchalantly as he puts a smug smile on his face. If we could improve the effectiveness of this technology, then we could bypass the usage of boats and postal system altogether. We'll be able to get in contact with other regions of the outer pole. The failed plans that my father and Albus had for marketing expansion will no longer be a dream once again. Furthermore, seeing as the company's unwanted baggage, which has caused us so much of a headache, will finally be disposed of, I expect there will be no issues whatsoever. Eloquently put. Seeing Rune articulate with such life, such animation, I think to myself. Since the dive, he seemed to me to be the type that never let his guard down. Despite his age, there's no better word to describe this man than cunning. Besides, I'd rather not lose contact with my little sister. For just a moment. I see. You'd have a point there. It seemed to me that Rita's cold, sharp eyes had relaxed. Just a moment if you could, Selfin. What is it? I just remembered something. Please wait here for just a moment. I had something I need to tell Albus. Huh? Sure. Excuse me, Albus. What is it? Is that Dick? I have a bottle of this stuff, yeah? It's been 2 years since someone had me bring it in, so I was thinking of just tossing the damn thing out. I didn't expect it to be yours, Mr. Folster. Here you go. There's a note? Sup, Albus? If you're reading this note, that means everything went perfectly. I'm sure you got all sorts of questions, but there's something I gotta do right now, Albus. I'm sorry. Sorry for not telling you anything, but it was something I had to do. I made a promise to Ellen that I'd never let Rune be alone. And I'm sure you already had an inkling, but I didn't have much longer to live. But I had a duty to leave Rune with a family. What should have I done? Mana research was something I'd been doing long before I had a family. I dedicated my entire life to it. How ironic. I got killed by the research I loved while I threw aside what I should have protected most. Then one day, I remembered. It was something written down in a book I read long ago. A method used by royalty, the inner pole, to pass their experiences and memories down to their descendants. A ceremony called the Path Down. The Path Down is a special kind of mana craft only royalty are able to use. But then I thought to myself, as long as it uses mana, then there's got to be a way to recreate it using our science. Through my research, I discovered 2 known properties of mana. 1. The purified mana of a human will remain inside of a person long after their death. 2. In general, this mana can be subdivided into 3 types. Memories, experience, and the 2 which form emotions, all of which are saved in the mana. So I decided to call this memory mana. When Minecraft was still in its infancy, people back then would mummify their royalty and stuff, right? That kind of practice might have been so they could keep that person's mana inside the body for as long as they possibly could. Well, whatever. Anyway, I succeeded in extracting the memory mana from Rune's body and transferred it into the body of a sister. I also managed to create a sister that could inherit Rune's mannerisms perfectly. But then there was a problem with that plan. If she didn't have any emotions, then she turned out exactly like Rune had. There'd be no point in that. So I figured out a way to extract the emotions from my own memory in Mana. I decided to give her the mannerisms that formed the emotion side of me all to her. But then there was a problem with that too. See, we're people from the outer pole. This craft is only royalty from the inner pole could use. I knew that if I tried to pull something like this off, my body couldn't handle it. So if you extract a huge amount of mana from your body, you'd die from some kind of reverse mana shock, and that'd be that. But you see, I really didn't have much longer left in me anyway, so I decided Lab Knight's protocol would be the trigger to my own version of the path down. Memory mana. Maybe this is what people refer to as the soul. A machine that inherits Rune's memories and carries emotions. Just who would that be? No, to be more precise, what would that be? People will fear it. It'll probably be called a blasphemous heretic for toying around with the deceased. But you know what? Mana hides too many possibilities to imagine. It's filled with too many outcomes to understand. We'll encounter these as we humans continue our research into mana. I'm sure we'll encounter these problems. God. Beings that inherit memory mana, what exactly are they? Mana will only bring more of these ethical issues to light. I've said to as much as that her emotion imitation mechanism can't be cut off, even by her own self. And I've deleted all the logs so that it can't be copied. Sorry, that's just my ego at work. I thought to myself, maybe it's too soon for this world to accept a being like her, but the fact that you're reading this memo means that wasn't entirely the case. I mean, not only is just one person in this world who's willing to accept her as family. No, that's that. Stay well, Albus. P.S. For the moment I met you, you've always been family to me until the very end. No matter what happens. Nothing's ever going to change that. That's how it's been, that's how it's gonna be. But I suppose that isn't enough for how you feel. Sorry I couldn't return your feelings. You're just too damn obvious. Are we all ready to go? Yep. There's just a port just a little north of here. You can take the ship that'll ferry you to the mainland. Selphine, Rotona, look, I even got some money from Rune. Are you sure about this? With the money you have left, you wouldn't have been able to pay for 3 people's fares. Additionally, you'll be headed to a different country than here in Cordon. They of course use a different currency than we do in Claudia. So I've included their own mint as well. Oh my goodness. You got us perfectly covered. Thank you for your kind consideration. We'll put it all to good use. Well then, I hope we can meet again someday. Okay everyone, let's get going. Thank you for everything, Grudo. Thank you, brother. Alright, we're off to the next destination. Let's go! Yay! Wait, stop you two. Jeez. Rito, just a word of caution. We don't know when Rune will ever return here. I don't mind. She's free now. I want to let her do whatever she desires. If she comes back, then I'll look after her again. Heh. He really is quite the kind, compassionate fellow. Phew. Feels like we've been on quite the adventure, even though we've been here for less than 4 days. Rotona, hurry up, let's go. We're gonna leave you behind, Rotona. But this isn't all bad. It's so refreshing, I might even forget all about mana shock. Don't wander off too far, you two. You're too slow, Rotona. Come on, hurry. Fine. So, now that all 3 of us are together again, there's something I'd like to say to the both of you. Visceral, Selphine, Rotona. Visceral, Rune. Visceral. I'm just so excited right now, I don't even know what to do. Being able to have adventures around the world with you, the 2 of you, it's like a dream come true. Have you never gone outside of Claudia? I've only really been to the mines, really. That's why I'm just so super excited. Energetic as always. Can you blame her? Let her have her fun. Heck, you're not excited enough, Rotona. That's right, Rotona. We're on a journey here. You're losing out if you don't enjoy it. Right? Hey, Rune. I'd love if you could call me Selly from now on. Selly? Are you sure? It's so informal. Oh, of course I'm sure. We're friends, aren't we? Selly. Rune. 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 Are they seriously gonna keep this level of enthusiasm the entire trip? Alright, we're done everything we need to. Time to leave the outer pole. We gotta start prioritize Ratona's condition right now. I'm perfectly fine. More importantly, Selfin, we have something we need to tell Rune, don't we? Ah. Oh. Something you need to tell me. What could it be? Seeing as you'll be traveling with us. No, seeing as you'll be our comrade during our long journey back, we should inform you of our true identities. Oh, right. I completely forgot about that. Your true identities? Yes, just calm down and listen, okay? The truth is, Ratone and I are our... But what was that sound? That sound, don't tell me. This is from the wave of a mana shift. And the concentration is intense. Just how much mana was used up here. This way. Follow me, but stay behind me at all times. You must be Rugenheit's princess, yes? What? Princess? Good day to you. My name is Milano. Nice to meet... Oh, well, I'll be. Wait now, could you be that bodyguard? Wow, I didn't think you were this young. Jeez, really, I'm just blown away. And you're a girl to boot. Wow, what an amazing turn of events. What are you even talking about? I'm sorry, maybe you have the wrong person here. Oh my, playing dumb, are we? And who's the girl with the twin tails? She's... Damn it, Rune, please don't say a word. You have the wrong people, miss. I've known these two my entire life, and I can tell you that none of us is a princess or a servant. Well, is that so? I haven't seen a girl as terrible at lying as you are in a while. Huh? I'm not lying at all. With the way you're stammering like that, I just wish I could believe you. Oh, but I guess it's not entirely a lie. You at least know how to script your response without being told, which means you're definitely friends. Lana approaches Rune and gently caresses Rune's cheek. What are you doing? You're certainly an interesting person, aren't you? I see. This weak level of mana. This is the outer pole, isn't it? And you're not human, are you? That's enough. This is the first time we've met, and already, you think you can get so chummy with us? She's clearly repulsed by your actions. Oh my, I do apologize. I certainly didn't mean to. Sorry, but you have the wrong people. We're in a hurry, so if you'll excuse us. Come on, both of you. Yeah. Coming. What? Looks like the two of you outright hate me now. What a shame. I really wanted to chat a little more. Nah. Guess I have no choice. It's been so long that I've already forgotten that on this world existed beings whose hostility you could physically feel through your skin. Selfie Rugenheit. That feeling pierced through my skin like a needle. Your father, Vala Rugenheit. It was as if a single swift moment changed into an eternity as preparing myself unconsciously and felt her pure killing intent. Is dead by my hands. Who are you? Name yourself! You followed us all the way here. Introduce yourself. What do you want from us? I'm so happy. Now you feel like talking. Answer me. How did he manage to follow us all the way here? See, there's this girl who's really, really good at analyzing crafts, whatever. So I followed what she said. And what do you know? I managed to teleport just like you. That's impossible. You just managed to do that? There's no way a lone human could stabilize the mana lines to travel all the way here in a mere 3 days. But I'm here, right in front of you. I followed you all the way from the third pole. And I found a far more stable method than the stray effect you seem to be using. Preposterous, say what you will. Oh, no need to be so nasty. Forcing mana lines to stabilize for the stray effect isn't something any normal person could have come up with. You're a real genius. Just that you made enemies with the wrong person. Speaking down to me like that. Are you saying I'm inferior to you? This isn't about who's superior or inferior. Just that between you and I exists the border between possible and impossible. Who the hell do you think you are? The border of impossibility? Enough of your foolishness. Do you mean to call yourself a god? Who knows? I suppose that'll depend on your definition of what a god is. If you think all it takes to be a god is to be omnipotent, then I very well could be a god to you. What? Hey, Rain Vasta. You're making such a racket. Calm down. Now listen, I'll only say this once. Do not kill her yet. This aura, could it be... Selly? Goodness, did you not hear me, Rain Vasta? This is an order. Do not let her escape. Constrain her by all means, even if you must cut her arms and legs off. I've got a few questions, you see. The worst. The worst timing possible. That's definitely one thing I remembered for sure. That it ends on a cliffhanger just like that. But hey, we did it! Yay! But yeah, that's how it's gonna end. Wow, okay, so that game was a time. Yeah, thank you all, as always, to everyone for watching. Okay, bye.